surely that's the win for Bournemouth. 3-1 they lead, as Justin Clivett now will run through the heart of the pitch, finds Kirkes in space, left of the D. Kirkes lining up his man. Is he going to go for goal? Kirkes on his left foot, it's a 4! Oh my word, Milos Kirkes rips off his shirt, and Bournemouth have got 4 at Newcastle. As the full-time whistle goes at St James's Park, Bournemouth have thrashed Newcastle, in form Newcastle, by 4 goals to 1.
Win against Eddie Howe's side, a hat-trick for Justin Clivett, a game that stretched the Cherries' run to 10 unbeaten and ended Newcastle's run of 9 straight victories. The players are on their way out in just a second. Don't forget, by the way, we have live updates of Women's Super League 2 action involving Southampton and Portsmouth this afternoon. Both sides at home. Saints at St Mary's against Bristol City. Tom Murray is there giving us updates into the Cherries commentary. Pompey women hosting Sheffield United, and Janet Gaggill is there at Fratton Park as well. And we've got our eyes on Hampshire's women in the One Day Cup final. They posted 288 for 6 short time ago, so Lancashire need 289 runs to win that when play resumes shortly. Live commentary on the BBC Sport website and app, but we're almost ready to go here in the Premier League at Vitality Stadium. Live commentary on all Solent frequencies and BBC Sounds in your smart speaker. Bournemouth versus Newcastle with Joe Partington alongside your commentator Jordan Clark.
Jono, thank you very much. The players out on the pitch. We could well see a 4th consecutive Premier League win for Bournemouth for the first time at the start of a season this afternoon. It has been a record-breaking start to this campaign, and they face another tough test in the form of Eddie Howe, their former managers, Newcastle United, this afternoon, who do come into the game, of course, off the back of a Thursday night Champions League defeat at home to Barcelona. And Eddie Howe has made a fair few changes because of that match. Just the 2 for Bournemouth in Andoni Iraola, though, and they came like they did against Brighton at right back and at centre back. Bafode Diakite, Bournemouth's most expensive ever defender at £35 million, is fit again, so he comes straight back in. Perhaps no surprise given the money they've spent on him, despite a brilliant debut for 18-year-old Veljko Milosavljevic, who drops to the bench this afternoon, and a full debut at right back for the Spaniard Alex Jimenez, a loan signing for AC Milan, which will be made permanent at the end of the season if he makes the right amount of appearances. And he ticks another one off today, starting in the Premier League for the first time. James Hill, the unlucky man to drop to the bench after a good start to the season. So Bournemouth 4-2, 3-1. Georgia Petrovic in goal, Alex Jimenez, Bafode Diakite, Marcos Senesi and Adrian Truffert are the back 4 from right to left. Tyler Adams alongside Alex Scott in an unchanged midfield for Bournemouth, with Marcus Tavernier just ahead of them in the number 10. David Brooks and Antoine Semenyo, the 2 wide men. Evan Nilsson will lead Bournemouth's line again through the middle in the number 9. The Cherries bench, Julio Soler, Ryan Christie fit and available again, having missed the Brighton game. Ben Gannon-Doak, Justin Clivett, Amin Adli, Junior Krupi, James Hill, Veljko Milosavljevic and Will Dennis, your substitute goalkeeper. The big first team squad members to miss out on the matchday squad completely this afternoon: Julian Araujo and Lewis Cook, who is sat just over our left-hand shoulder alongside the injured Adam Smith. Nothing confirmed from Bournemouth yet, but I'm hearing from asking a few questions that it is an injury for Lewis Cook, a shoulder problem, but I'm being told nothing too major. We'll get official confirmation of that from Andoni Iraola after the game when we speak to him later on. There are 5 changes for Newcastle United from their last Premier League game. I think it's around 7 from the Barcelona match midweek, but we'll go on the 1-0 win over Wolves. Out go Trippier, Cher, who suffered a concussion against Barcelona on Thursday night, so he's not allowed to be involved. Guimaraes, Joe Linton and Barnes also on the bench today for Newcastle. It is the first time Bruno Guimaraes has been dropped from a Premier League side by Eddie Howe since their defeat here at the Vitality Stadium in November 2023. Dropped, rested, however you want to look at it. Dominic Solanke with a brace that day. In come Malik Chow for his full debut, one of 3 centre-backs this afternoon. Botman comes in to the back line too. There is also a start for Miley, Hall and Willock Newcastle changed shape just slightly to a 3-4-3. Nick Pope in goal, Chow, Botman and Byrne, the three central defenders, as referee Robert Jones gets us underway at the Vitality Stadium in the Premier League, and Bournemouth launch a long searching high ball to try and cause some chaos into the Newcastle box, but it's plucked out of the sky by Nick Pope. Let me finish that team for you then. Tino Livramento, the right wing back, Lewis Hall, the left wing back, Lewis Miley alongside Sandro Tonali in midfield for Newcastle. Jacob Murphy and Joseph Willett will play up top alongside Nick Voldemada, the new £69 million signing from Stuttgart for Newcastle. Bournemouth in red and black tops, or red and black striped tops, black shorts, black socks, shooting from our left to right towards the Ted McDougall south stand in this first half. An early ball forward looking for Evan Nilsson is cleared by Newcastle, who are in green away tops, white shorts, white socks, shooting from our right to left towards the Steve Fletcher North stand. And Livramento has it at his feet on the halfway line. It's won back well by Truffert, and Alex Scott joins in too. Cloudy day overhead with sunshine and blue skies when we arrived, but deceptively cold in this September afternoon. And there's already been a bit of a buzz and a bit of pace about the start of this game, which I think we were expecting, Joe Partington.
Yeah, we were. It's going to be an intense encounter, I think, with both teams looking to play forward quite quickly, looking to run forward into space. Both defences like to be aggressive. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting matchup. Obviously similar styles but different formations, so there'll be different spaces on the pitch that obviously work out for each team. Senesi's looking like he's going to get a little bit of time on the ball today, because Newcastle are only playing with one man up front. So yeah, it'll be an interesting dynamic.
Here's a Bournemouth down the left, Truffert. Cross into the box, looking for Semenyo and Tavernier, headed up into the sky by Dan Burns. Semenyo still battling away on the edge of the box and does win it back for Bournemouth, but can't get it away from Willock. And then Hall will send it down this near left-hand side to Voltemada, who's dropped deep under pressure from Diakite, who's followed him all the way into the Newcastle half. And Bournemouth have won themselves a throw-in, and there's an early touch for Alex Jimenez on full debut at right back. Square ball from Diakite from right to left into the centre circle. They'll go back to Senesi, who immediately again looks up for that diagonal ball into the Newcastle half, but decides against it and goes short and square out to this near right hand side, where Andoni Iraola is on the edge of his technical area alongside Eddie Howe. There is the diagonal from Senesi. Semenyo's up for it, but the flag is up for offside. It'll be a free kick to Newcastle on the edge of their own 18-yard area.
I wonder if Eddie and Jace have obviously watched maybe the Wolves, not necessarily the Wolves game, the Brentford game here in the League Cup, because Newcastle have taken a very similar setup to, like we've sort of been speaking about how Newcastle like to get on the front foot and how they like to attack forward quickly, but every time Bournemouth have had the ball, actually after those early exchanges, they've settled into a back five. It looks like they're only playing with one man up front, which is going to allow obviously the Bournemouth defenders more time on the ball, and Bournemouth midfield very little space. So I think they can actually see in this first half probably Bournemouth are going to have most of the ball, most of the possession,
which, as we discussed in the build up to this game, Joe, not something either team really likes to have. Here comes Willock down the left hand side. In terms of high turnovers, these two are up there, I think, in the top three in the Premier League for winning the ball back in the final third of the opposition's half. Plucked out of the sky by Petrovic for his first touch for Bournemouth in goal. He's in lime green this afternoon, top shorts and socks with bright orange boots and gloves. Here's Marcos Senesi, the Argentinian, who's had a brilliant start to this season on the left side of Bournemouth's two central defensive positions. Has the ball at his feet again and immediately looks up and out to this right hand side, but goes square again along the ground to Diakite to Jimenez quickly moving forward and finds Tavernier, and he sends it to Evan Nilsson through the middle, and then Alex Scott trying to thread it back into the path of Tavernier on the edge of the box. It's cut off by Newcastle, but you heard the ooze of the home fans around us in the main stand, because that very nearly sent Evan Nilsson and Tavernier through on goal as Bournemouth try again through the middle. Here's David Brooks, who's just drifted in from that left flank, finds Tavernier on the edge of the box. Foot in there from Chow, Newcastle's new centre-back. It's back with Bournemouth now and Tyler Adams, and Newcastle send all 11 men back deep behind the ball. Here's Marcos Senesi on the halfway line. 1-2 with Alex Scott. Not a lot of space through the middle. It's congested, as Joe Partington was just telling you. Bournemouth will reset again at the back and on halfway line. Here's Marcos Senesi. He's trying to send Truffert forward down the left, and then David Brooks gets it wrong. He thought Truffert was deeper. His square ball was straight out of play into the east stand, throw into Newcastle.
They look really settled into a shape, Newcastle, like I sort of maybe was suggesting that Bournemouth are going to get a lot of the ball, and that's exactly what's happened, especially when you play with a back five. Getting the ball out in control and obviously having possession high up the pitch from that position is very difficult, because you have to stay on it for some period of time to allow your wing backs to obviously get high up the pitch. And so I actually think that it's going to be difficult for Newcastle to get out of their own half, the way that the balance of these sort of early exchanges is going.
Jimenez to Adams. Adams is just holding the ball up about halfway inside the Newcastle half, under a bit of pressure from Martley for Newcastle. They'll work it back through Diakite and Senesi to the left again. Here's David Brooks, low ball in towards the front post, cut off by Chow, out of play into the east stand, that right hand third of it, which is housing the noisy travelling Newcastle supporters who've made that huge trip down from the northeast this afternoon. It is a throw into Bournemouth, which Antoine Semenyo will jog over to the far side to take. Long throw in, so forward goes Senesi and Diakite into the 6-yard box. About 6 yards out, this throw in, and Semenyo launches it into the box. Diakite wins the first header, drops to Jimenez. Jimenez shoots low, it's blocked by Lewis Hall on the 6-yard line. Would have been a tester for Pope. Some good pace and power in that shot from Jimenez, and he claps his hands together in frustration that he wasn't able to test the goalkeeper. First chance of the game, Bournemouth's way. I'm not sure if it will go down as one on target because it didn't reach the goalkeeper, but it was certainly heading that way. Joe Partington.
He did a good job to keep that down. I know everyone gets giddy when the ball looks like it's going to be struck from a shot and sort of like, well, as it's bouncing on the edge of the box, and more often than not, even though we're looking at elite level athletes, even that ball sort of sails over the crossbar. But as you said, I don't think if Lewis Hall gets in the way, it certainly gives a goalkeeper or Nick Pope a problem. But this is great sustained pressure from Bournemouth at the moment. Newcastle haven't had the ball in our half really for longer than 10 seconds, of which Petrovic managed to deal with a cross, and this sort of looks as if this is the way that the game's going to look in this first half.
7 minutes gone. Bournemouth 0, Newcastle 0. BBC Radio Solent and the BBC Sounds app across the UK. If you search for BBC Radio Solent or ask for it on your smart speakers, you will get the Cherries match today. Bournemouth win a free kick on halfway inside the centre circle. Ball was rolling, says referee Rob Jones, who's taking charge of his first game since the Fulham-Chelsea match at the end of August, a rather controversial one where he was involved in a disallowed goal for Fulham, which shouldn't have been disallowed. Not his fault, though, I don't think it's fair to say. It was Michael Salisbury back in the VAR booth who caused the problem by calling him over to the screen when he shouldn't have done. Here's Tyler Adams on the halfway line. We will take you for updates throughout the course of the afternoon to our two WSL 2 matches this afternoon. Pompey women and Saints women in action. Here come Bournemouth into the box. David Brooks, right side of it, trying to sort his feet out. Cute back heel. Tyler Adams shoots, saved by the feet of Nick Pope, and he clears the 18-yard area. Unconventional goalkeeping from Pope, but he got the job done. And again, Bournemouth causing Newcastle problems. Corner to the Cherries, 0-0.
It's a really great move down this right-hand side, George, between again Brooks and Tavernier. I'm going to include Semenyo and Evan Nilsson in this statement as well, but there's so much rhythm and combination play between them. And yeah, David Brooks finds Tavernier, sets it back to him, he just drives into a space and sets the ball back. It's a great shot, good save.
David Brooks with the corner away to our right. Curls one towards the penalty spot, headed clear and out to Jimenez on the volley again. He's lashed one goalwards. That one was going wide, but it's been headed clear all the same by Newcastle. Throw into the Cherries on the far side. He is not afraid to pull the trigger, Alex Jimenez.
Yeah, he's not, is he? I mean, again, definitely would have gotten to. I think you're right, it was definitely going wide. But actually, if the ball did sail through, it looked like Evan Nilsson might be able to get on the end of it, similar to sort of Man United's first goal yesterday against Chelsea when Bruno sort of runs into a space just to try and attack the goal. But now Bournemouth have made a great start to this game. There's a lot of rhythm in their play again. We sort of touched on it before the game against defences that sit off the back of us and allow us the ball, that sometimes we find that difficult. But if the first 10 minutes are anything to go by, we've certainly managed to find some really nice pictures so far.
Diakite down the right to Jimenez, can't quite keep it in. Goal kick to Newcastle, goalless at the Vitality Stadium. Long old weekend of sport on BBC Radio Solent. We brought you defeats yesterday in the Championship for Southampton away at Hull 3-1 and Pompey 2-0 at home to Sheffield Wednesday. Reaction to both of those games available right now on BBC Sounds. If you search for your side, you can find interviews with Will Still and Jack Stevens from a Saints point of view. You can also find an interview with a very unhappy John Messino, the Pompey boss, following their 2-0 defeat, and Mackenzie Kirk as well after his debut for Pompey. Not a great clearance from the back from Petrovic for Bournemouth up towards halfway. He got enough luck that there were no players around, and it rolled all the way to the halfway line, and Newcastle have it in their back line again through Botman. Forward to the Italian Tonali. Drifts into the Bournemouth half with the ball at his feet. Jacob Murphy joins in. 1-2 with Voltemada, back out to the right, into the box, shot goalward, saved by Petrovic, stood big, came off his chest. Bournemouth still haven't dealt with it, danger there inside the area. Lewis Hall brings it under control, just on the top of the box. And now Bournemouth do get men back in numbers, but danger is still on the edge of the area. And Miley sends it out to the right, and Livramento, 1-2 with Murphy. Murphy joins in again and tries to lift the ball over the top of David Brooks to Livramento. Brooks gets a foot on it behind, first corner of the game for the visitors.
Just goes to show how dangerous Newcastle are, Jordan. I know they've soaked up a lot of pressure in this first 10 minutes, but as soon as they manage to find a ball through the lines in sort of that defence to midfield space, they're on the attack. And we've got another great save from Petrovic. Always does sort of what's asked for him when needed so far this season. That
was off the right thigh of Petrovic. Both goalkeepers saving with their legs at either end. Nick Pope. And now Petrovic, corner comes into the box. Petrovic comes, gets a big punch on it. He's out of position, drops to Tonali on the edge of the box. He shoots, deflects. Petrovic has come for it. Voltemada gets there and is cleared off the line by Alex Scott. Flag was up for offside. Probably wouldn't have counted anyway. Alex Scott wasn't to know. Still 0-0. Free kick to the Cherries. All action, end to end, pace and tempo and rhythm, as Joe Partington's been telling you. Great Premier League game so far.
Yeah, I mean, really good, really great start to this game. And as you say, Petrovic and Alex Scott certainly weren't to know that Voltemada was offside, and Alex Scott does a great job of protecting his goalkeeper and getting back on the line. But yeah, like we're saying, Bournemouth in control of this game, but Newcastle are dangerous, and those transitions I know that Bournemouth have had most of the ball, but Petrovic sort of gives a bit of a messy back pass back to Newcastle. They found a couple of passes and we're in on goal. So yeah, we've got to be really careful in those transitions that we don't give up space to Newcastle, because they can always hurt you.
Bournemouth trying to play through the lines to Scott and then send it out to the right hand side, and Semenyo's with a lovely touch to the byline, looks up, crosses early to the front post. Nick Pope's there, gathers it into his stomach. Evan Nilsson was lurking but couldn't get quickly enough to that front post to cause Pope any problems. Bournemouth 0, Newcastle 0. BBC Radio Solent and the BBC Sounds app across the UK. Nick Pope all in blue, baby blue this afternoon, drops the ball to the deck and then launches it into the Bournemouth half. Trufair and Tyler Adams get themselves in a bit of a mess, and here come Newcastle through the middle, and Jacob Murphy, edge of the box, left-footed shot, sliced wide, goal kick to the Cherries.
But that's going to be a real big feature of the game, Jordan, is that in those transitional periods, like at the ball sort of bouncing around there, and Nick Pope and Botman, to be fair, from goal kicks have tried to find Voltemada, and why wouldn't you? He's 6'5", 6'7", so yeah, he's causing obviously some disruption. Even though Diakite won the first pass, it's not always about that first ball, it's certainly what happens off the back of that. And Newcastle have found a couple of opportunities so far off the back of transitions and turnovers, so yes, that's going to be I think a real as it usually is at this sort of level, but those transitions are going to be a really important part of the game.
Still feels so strange to hear Eddie Howe's Barmy Army ringing around the Vitality Stadium coming from the away end. The North stand here responds with Iraola's Barmy Army. Here are Bournemouth on the halfway line, one back by Diakite. Semenyo, square ball to Tavernier, about 25 yards out, central position, shoots left-footed, charged down by Tonali. Ricochets out to Trufair down the left for Bournemouth. He's got David Brooks ahead of him and finds him with the ball along the deck. And they just stop and reset and slow things down again. Newcastle again with all 11 men back behind the ball. Here's Diakite. Bournemouth work it out to the right, and Jimenez square, Tavernier, room, edge of the box, left foot, looks up, lovely little lay into Evan Nilsson, square to David Brooks, who side foots it in. There's a flag up for offside. They'll check it in Stockley Park. Bournemouth may have an open up. but there doesn't look like there's a lot of confidence amongst David Brooks and Evan Nilsson down on the pitch at the moment. Let's wait and see. 1-0 maybe.
He's not offside there, obviously, for the third. Yeah, he's offside.
Second pass.
Yeah.
Evan Nilsson to Brooks. Brooks is offside.
But really nice piece of play again from Bournemouth, obviously, even to create the opportunity to begin with. Jimenez has started this game really, really well, and again, encouraging signs. I know that it was a talking point before the game of him coming in for James Hill off the back of 2 good performances, sort of plugging in for Adam Smith off the back of his injury, but he's had a great start to the game. And again, Tavernier finding these spaces beyond the midfield in front of the defence that's so difficult to pick up. I actually think that he was going to have a shot. I think maybe if his first shot didn't get blocked, then he might have taken another one on then. But yeah, Bournemouth look dangerous. They look really dangerous. But as we always say, Newcastle have got players on the pitch that can hurt us, so we've got to be careful that we don't get too comfortable.
I've only just confirmed the goal needed to be disallowed for offside. You heard how quickly we saw the replays on our screen. I don't know why it took them so long to decide that back in Stockley Park, but we are back underway, and Bournemouth are driving down the right again, and Semenyo and Tavernier are linking up again. Here is Tavernier, right side of the Newcastle box, causing Newcastle problems. Lewis Miley gets a foot in there but can only put it behind for another corner to the Cherries. Set piece coming up. Can they make one of them count?
Bournemouth have got so many different ways to hurt you at the moment. And what's great to see, George, is that Semenyo picks the ball up for the air on the halfway line and just starts driving. He's got it in him to be direct, as is Tavernier. But actually then when the game becomes about small spaces and being under pressure, they're able to find those passes as well. There's really, really no way to...
I take it back. That offside was a lot tighter than we thought. I've seen the semi-automated offside. Corner comes in. Brooks into the box. It's under the crossbar, headed up into the air. Nick Pope claims and plucks the second ball out of the sky. I did not think it was that close. No,
nor me. The angle, obviously, that we got, Jordan, on this television screen in front of us after, it looked like it was about a yard, but it was about a toenail.
I apologise to Matt Donoghue back at Stockley Park, VAR this afternoon, for taking his time over that. You can understand why now. It's pretty much the big toe, I think, of David Brooks, which has cost him a goal there. Would have been his first of the season, and Bournemouth are pressing well again around the halfway line. Jimenez, Adams, Scott hunting in packs, but free kick given away. Lewis Hall bundled over, and they take it quickly back to the Newcastle skipper Dan Burn. Here's Botman just outside the D.
Newcastle sort of settle into this game a little bit. They're trying to find some, albeit all their passes are inside their own half. Nick Pope's just gone long now to the centre forward. Senesi does really well again just to step in front of him and win the ball. But the more that Newcastle try and play these smaller passes, the more I think it actually suits Bournemouth, because as everybody knows, we're at our best when we're trying to win the ball back high up the pitch.
Ball's down this near side, the Newcastle left. Hall's just away from Adams, who bundles him over. And it's a free kick to Hall. Second free kick he's won in a short space of time. Eddie Howe, Jason Tyndall out on the edge of their area. We will get to the game between Pompey women and Sheffield United in a moment. In fact, let's go there now while we have a pause for this free kick. WSL 2, Pompey women against Sheffield United, and Janet Gadgill.
And it's advantage Portsmouth, their first league goal this season, coming in the 11th minute. A lovely free kick about 25 metres out on the left-hand side. Meg Hornby floating the ball over keeper Charlotte Parker-Smith. It's Portsmouth 1, Sheffield United 0.
And Jana, thank you very much. We've got Saints women in action against Bristol City 2, also in WSL 2. Tom Murray's there. We'll head there as soon as there are any goals, and we'll keep a close eye on AFC Bournemouth's game against Cheltenham, the women, as the ball gets launched into the Bournemouth box. Not dealt with first, but then Marcus Senesi with an overhead kick to clear the Bournemouth 18-yard line up towards halfway, and Tyler Adams is pressing Nick Pope, who's come a long way out of his box, to receive that ball to his feet. Newcastle work it down this left-hand side. Jimenez gets across well. They puts Miley under pressure, and Alex Scott, in a right-back position at the moment for the Cherries, is able to bring the ball under control. But immediately he's pressed by Willock, and they go back to Petrovic, the Bournemouth goalkeeper, and they'll send it up to halfway. There's so much pace to this game, I'm struggling to tell you anything else at the moment. So Bournemouth women at home to Cheltenham Town women. That was a 2 o'clock kickoff at Ringwood, 0-0 at the moment in the Southern Premier Division, the Women's National League. They've got off to a brilliant start since promotion, have the Cherries, as Bournemouth send a long ball forward. The men do here at the Vitality Stadium, looking for Evan Nilsson, and it's brought under control on the edge of the Newcastle box by a combination of Botman and Byrne, and Miley sends it out to the right and finds Tonali on the halfway line. Here's Murphy, square ball infield for Livramento. 1-2, back to Murphy, then switches it out to the left, but Jimenez has read it and heads it down to David Brooks and finds David Brooks' white boots, and he'll send a square ball infield to Adams, who dribbles up towards halfway, but he's squeezed and pressed by two Newcastle players, and then he unfortunately drifts out of play with the ball and to throw into Newcastle. Eddie Howe turns and walks back to the dugout and writes something on his little notepad he's got with him. Andoni Iraola is smarter this afternoon. Eddie Howe in tracksuit, Andoni Iraola in chinos, shirt and jumper.
And it just didn't touch on it, maybe, Jordan, when it happened. It sort of went to one of the scores, but Newcastle's size, physical size, as you look at them on the pitch at the moment, they've 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the guys just off the back of one first looking, at least 6'3" and over. So these sort of dead ball situations, they had a free kick just inside their own half, and actually instead of trying to play quickly, they set the ball up and allowed everybody to attack the ball, which actually caused a little bit of chaos in Bournemouth's box. So I think that will also be a feature of this game too, is that when Newcastle get the opportunity to put Bournemouth under pressure in their own box with sort of free kicks and corners and long throws, I think they will do so.
A lot of talk about it before the game, Joe, and in fact in the opening weeks of the season, about the lack of height in Bournemouth's squad this season. Andoni Iraola very open in talking about the fact that he knows that, he's aware of it, and interesting that they've given up a bit of height with the two changes today as well, though Diakite is certainly not short. Milisavljevic, I think, the taller of the two centre-backs, and Jimenez, in fact, is a little taller than I thought he was going to be. I haven't seen some pictures of him at right back, but James Hill, I'm not sure who's got the edge in terms of height there. Maybe they haven't given up too much height this afternoon, but you're right, they held way off the 6'6", 6'7" likes of Dan Burn and Sven Botman, Voltemada up front. Bournemouth ball into the box, they find Evan Nilsson, he chests down looking for Alex Scott. Here is Alex Scott, appeals for handball, play on, says the referee. They'll be checking it back in Stockley Park. There's a flag up for offside too. It's all going on at the Vitality Stadium, but it is still Bournemouth 0, Newcastle 0. If you're just joining us, David Brooks has had a goal disallowed for offside. The Bournemouth have started really well, but Newcastle all the same have looked dangerous in the other direction.
Evan Nilsson offside from the first pass, I think, Jordan. But again, Evan Nilsson looking to run in behind, stretch Newcastle's defence. Always plays on the shoulder, and it's going to be difficult for him today, because even though Newcastle was set up sort of very defensively, and even now sort of Dan Burns playing as a left winger, it's when Bournemouth are in possession of the ball, Newcastle are setting up with a back five, and Evan Nilsson is almost being marked by TR, Botman and Dan Burns. So it's going to be a difficult day for him.
They are, Bournemouth, unbeaten in their last 6 in the Premier League against Newcastle. They have a really good record against Eddie Howe. Bournemouth trying to win it back high. Voltemada against Truffert. Truffert does well. And just going back to what you said about Evan Nilsson and running in behind, Joe, Andoni Iraola really frustrated last season and at the start of this season that Bournemouth just aren't using Evan Nilsson enough, not finding him enough when he makes those runs. He says they're getting better at it, but they still could do more, because he's always on the last man. He's always right on the cusp of being offside, and he wants to try and exploit that a little bit more. One back well by Tyler Adams on halfway, and the ball falls to the feet of Semenyo, brings it under control on the right wing, about 10 yards inside the Newcastle half, but then loose ball infield, one back by Hall, and now Newcastle will try and break down the left. Here's Willock driving down the left touchline. Tyler Adams comes across to just cut him off and hold him up on the left corner of the box. Willock moves infield across the top of the 18-yard line. Bournemouth clear. Dan Burn sends it back out to the right on the halfway line. He finds Mike Chow. Chow with a square ball infield to Tonali, halfway inside Bournemouth territory. 0-0 at the Vitality Stadium, halfway through the first half. BBC Radio Solent, and you can listen this afternoon on the BBC Sounds app and your smart speakers across the UK. Here's Botman, sends it out to the left along the deck. Bit of pace on the ball in the pass to Hall. Jimenez immediately on top of Hall, and he forces Hall to go back to the halfway line. Chow forward, looking for Murphy. Lovely touch from Murphy, and he links up well with Voltemada. Murphy, right side of the Bournemouth box, held up by Truffert. Marcos Senesi gets a foot in. Square ball, edge of the area. They find Miley. Miley's just held up by a Bournemouth backline. Here's Tonali, long range effort over the bar into the north stand. Goal kick. Bournemouth 0, Newcastle 0. You can't take your eyes off this game for a second.
No, you can't, George. It's a really well balanced game actually, and the balance of play keeps swinging from one side to the other. I think Bournemouth obviously in these probably opening 15 minutes have most control over the game, but Newcastle have really come into it now, and yeah, it's not necessarily basketball, but it certainly is an intense encounter that no one can really get hold of at the moment.
Both teams with the pace and ability to turn defence into attack in the blink of an eye. I literally try and look down at my notes in front of me for a second, and I look up and the ball's at the other end of the pitch. That's where I'm relying on Joe Parting to just give me a nudge and be like, concentrate. Senesi, diagonal bar to this right hand side, he finds Tavernier. Tavernier does really well to control it out of the sky at full stretch. He's just held up on the touchline, about 18 yards from the Newcastle goal line. He does well and sensibly, just calmly with the square ball in to Adams, and here's Senesi through the middle. Tavernier, edge of the box now, just outside the D, works it to the right, and Jimenez looks up, early cross, charged down by Willett. Throw into the Cherries.
Senesi again for Bournemouth is really dictating those passes that ultimately end with Bournemouth sustaining and beginning attacks. Like the first pass there, obviously a diag to Tavernier, which was a really well-timed run, but obviously Senesi has to have the quality to find him, and then again when the ball rotates back out, Senesi's able to break through the lines and find that pass into Semenyo.
Semenyo, long throw into the box, looking for Senesi, comes out to Scott on the volley, over the bar, well over the bar, into the advertising balls at the top of the south stand. Goal kick, 0-0 still.
I think that's a really good chance, George, to be honest. I know the ball bounces up in front of Alex Scott, but a player with his quality, I think that technique he's got in the bag, we're about to see it back. The ball is sort of inside the D on the edge of the box, and as it bounces out to him, yeah, if he just gets his head over the ball maybe and strikes through the middle of it instead of at the bottom, that would have been a really good opportunity for Bournemouth. And could tell by his body language afterwards, he was really disappointed, as he probably should be.
Goal kicks launched long by Pope, but one back by Bournemouth. Tavernier on halfway, he's looking for Semenyo. Chow comes across to cover, and Pope comes a long way out of his box again and side foots it straight out of play, taking no risk for a throw into the Cherries. About 25 yards out, down this near right hand side. Jimenez will take it. The Spaniard goes back to Diakite on the halfway line. Square ball in field to Senesi. Senesi forward to Adams. Adams looks for Jimenez down the right hand side again. Back to Diakite. Ball's inside the centre circle with the Argentinian Senesi. This time they'll work it to the left. Most of it has come down the right for Bournemouth, but Brooks and Trufair linking up well again. Here is Brooks, just outside the box, left side of it. Backwards and through the middle to Adams, and then Trufair tries down the left again. Square ball infield to Scott. Senesi will deliver into the box. Curling ball headed away by Dan Burn. Headed clear by Newcastle, but only as far as Alex Scott, halfway inside the Newcastle half. Now David Brooks again down that far left-hand touchline. 1-2 with Trufair, goes down, free kick to the Cherries in a really dangerous position, left side of the box. A chance to test Newcastle's back line again.
Been really encouraged so far, Jordan. I know the game is swinging, as we said, obviously in each favour of each team, depending on where the ball transitions from one to the other, but been really encouraged by the signs that Bournemouth are showing when Newcastle have got all their players behind the ball and Bournemouth have got controlled possession, because yeah, as we've sort of said or touched on, that historically Bournemouth have found that difficult, but they seem to have a real nice rhythm at the moment, and the combinations of Brooks, Evan Nilsson, Tavernier and Semenyo are really working well, especially on that left-hand side between Trufair and Brooks. It's really nice balance between the two of them.
If you saw Marcus Rashford's header for Barcelona in the week, you'll know that Bournemouth want to fizz this in with a bit of pace, because if you float it in against this tall back line for Newcastle, they'll probably gobble it up. It's Scott and David Brooks who are the right and left-footed options. About 22 yards out, left side of the box, left-footed. Brooks fizzed in towards the back post, bounces inside the 6-yard area. It was Newcastle defenders who got themselves in a bit of a mess, I think, Tonali and Botman, and they've just smashed it clear and out of play for a throw into the Cherries by the corner flag away to our right-hand side.
It's a great ball in, as you said. He called it, Jordan, before David Brooks even took that. The kind of style of free kick that he had to take to get anything out of this Newcastle back line. They're so big and strong, and they're so tight together. I think it's going to be really difficult for Bournemouth to score a goal from across today, obviously just because of Newcastle's physical presence. But if you can wrap the ball in front of them or just in between them as quickly as David Brooks just did, you might be able to get some joy.
Play just held, and I think that must have been for some kind of VAR check, but not clear why or what up on the big screens. Throw into the Cherries, we get back underway now. Semenyo, long throw into the box. Diakite heads it back towards the edge of the 18-yard area. Tyler Adams puts it back into the danger area. Newcastle clear, and the ball's on the halfway line now in true fair. We will get you to St Mary's in a moment. There's been a goal in the game between Saints Women and Bristol City, I think, but at the moment this is just impossible to step away from, with the speed at which both teams go on the attack. And Bournemouth have it now through Alex Scott. And Scott drifting out to the left-hand side in true fair. True fair will go back to Marcos Senesi on the edge of his own 18-yard area. Diakite's there as well for Bournemouth. He sends a ball along the ground through the middle to the centre circle, and Evan Nilsson, who's dropped deep. He hits the deck, doesn't win a free kick. Miley will send it forward to Murphy. Murphy square ball infield looking for Voltamada. One back well by Diakite on the edge of his own 18-yard area for Bournemouth. Cherries in red and black striped tops, black shorts and black socks, shooting from our left to right in this first half. Senesi clears in that direction from the edge of his own area again, and Newcastle just enjoying a spell of possession now. Tonali out to the right hand side, and the former Southampton defender Livramento again with the 1-2 infield to Murphy. He falls over, play on, says the referee, no foul. True fair's won it back, and Bournemouth maybe can break here through Tavernier in the middle. He's looking up for options, looking for Semenyo. Too much on the pass, not enough direction, and Dan Burn and Nick Pope nearly get themselves in a mess inside their own 18-yard area. Bournemouth press high, out of play from Dan Burn, and play's held now. We've got a man down injured, so let's go to St Mary's. Southampton women against Bristol City in WSL 2. Tom Murray is watching.
Well, Jordan, we've had everything but a goal, but it's been a fantastic start for Southampton. Ellie Brazil and Abby Ferguson on the right-hand side, causing Bristol City no end of problems. They came closest through Michaela McAloney around 12 minutes into the game, where she was put through on goal by Atlanta Primus, but was unable to keep her left-footed drive from going over the bar. Bristol City, their chances have been few and far between for them. Rio Hardy, their number 9, will be really relieved to see the offside flag go up after a cut back to her from about 4 yards out, missed the ball completely, so her blushes have been spared. Southampton though in the ascendancy, we just haven't had a goal yet. 0-0.
Tom, thank you very much. Elsewhere still, Pompey women 1-0 up against Sheffield United in WSL 2, and in the Women's National League Southern Premier Division it's Bournemouth 0, Cheltenham Town 0. Don't forget we've got live cricket commentary ongoing for you at the moment as well. It's the one-day cup final for the women, Hampshire against Lancashire. The BBC Sport app and website is where you can find commentary of that. Hampshire women posting 288 for 6 from their 50 overs, 289 to win for Lancashire. They are 20 for the loss of 1 wicket after the first 5 overs. Man down injured here at the Vitality Stadium's Jacob Murphy for Newcastle. He's back up on his feet. The play will get back underway. It's due to be a long throw, I think, for Bournemouth. And Dan Burns saying he passed it out of play because Jacob Murphy was injured. And I'm not sure I believe that, Joe Partington. He was under a lot of pressure when he put that ball out of play.
He was, but I actually am inclined to believe Dan Burn. I think
Defenders Union.
Yeah, he did it like you can tell there was sort of a little bit of a lack of body language when he actually played the pass, and he just kicked it out, and quite obviously it looked as if he'd done so on purpose. But you would be, as a supporter, obviously it would annoy you that he's passed the ball out of play in an area where Bournemouth actually might be able to make something of it.
In fairness, Dan Burns just gone to have a little laugh and a joke with Antonio Raiola as well, who has got a large smile on his face on the edge of the technical area. I think they understand each other and what happened. And then boos for Burn, and Bournemouth win it back on the edge of the box. Evan Nilsson, Scott Tavernier's there too. It was Semenyo's foot in initially. Still there for the Cherries down the left. Brooks looks up, curls one to the back post. Pope comes out and claims. Those corners need a bit more pace on them and not quite so much height, because that was comfortably plucked out of the sky by Nick Pope.
Another great example of Bournemouth winning the ball up back high though. It's not necessarily been a main feature so far of this game, because Newcastle don't really play that way in terms of smaller passes that invite pressure, like we sort of mentioned at the start of the game. But when they have done, Bournemouth, as always, they're there ready to put pressure on the ball, ready to be aggressive, certainly on the front foot, and they've created a couple of opportunities that they could have done better with. But it's a great game, Jordan, isn't it? So far it's really well balanced, both teams looking to try and attack. as there's another stop in play now.
Yeah, head injury, 2 players down. Evan Nielsen for Bournemouth over on the far side in the Bournemouth half, in the east stand. Evan Nielsen back deep, working half with the Cherries. Can't see who it is in a heap for Newcastle at the moment. Livramento possibly. Yeah, Livramento. Evan Nielsen's got back up. Livramento stayed down. Of course, Newcastle lost Fabian Schär for today's game, and maybe another one as well, I think, due to the concussion protocols after a head injury for him against Barcelona. Newcastle also without Anthony Gordon today, who's suspended after his red card against Newcastle, the 3rd and final match of his 3-game ban. Both players now back up on their feet and not requiring any additional treatment from the medical staff, and it will be a drop ball from referee Robert Jones on the halfway line. Jones, of course, in charge of Bournemouth's memorable win over Arsenal here last season. Long ball forward from Newcastle, chested down by Diakite, then a low ball forward along the ground to Tavernier, who backheels it into the path of Semenyo, who's driving to the edge of the box. Cut off and dispossessed by Dan Burn just as he was moving into Semenyo shooting territory, drifting in off the right onto the left foot.
He sort of put his hand up to say sorry to Tavernier, but I think if the best option now in hindsight would have been for him to just lay Tavernier's run on. I think Dan Burn actually gambles that Semenyo's going to step inside and ends up being able to defend the ball, whereas actually if he slides Tavernier in, Dan Burn had stopped his sort of recovering run with Tavernier and he may have been able to get on goal. But yeah, another great example of Bournemouth attacking with a lot of intent. Certainly like a great ball around the corner from Tavernier. They keep showing so many signs of being on the same page. I sort of must caveat that with Bournemouth haven't scored enough goals this season that sort of reflects how well they're playing. But yeah, it's going to be difficult to score. Newcastle have got so many players defending the goal, and Nick Pope's obviously a very good goalkeeper, but there's been some really good signs so far of some positive Bournemouth attacks. Just under 10 minutes to go until half-time. Bournemouth 0, Newcastle 0. It feels like we played about 90 minutes already given the intensity of this game. Newcastle will try and attack down the left. Diakite does well. Square ball along the goal line almost to his goalkeeper Petrovic, who very calmly brings it under control and finds Truffert in a left-back position, and Truffert wins a throw into the Cherries. David Brooks' disallowed goal around the 20-minute mark. Perhaps the best moment of the game so far for either side. Both goalkeepers have been called into action though with saves. Nick Pope with his feet, Petrovic with his thigh, and Senesi just smashes one, no nonsense, Avett style, into the Newcastle half, and the ball bounces. I wonder if young people know Avett, if they know that as a reference.
It was the TV advert, right?
Yeah,
Peter Kay?
Yeah, Peter Kay, and I think it was like John Smith's or something like that. But like young people wouldn't know. Like you said that just now. Obviously, young people listening probably wouldn't even know what you're on about.
What do you class as a young person these days?
Anything post 2000, I guess.
Most of the footballers out there on the pitch then, which makes you feel old, doesn't it?
Yeah, they wouldn't know what you're on about.
Marcos Senesi, I'm pretty sure, from the South American upbringing he has no idea what Avett means, but that was certainly what he just did. Free kick to Newcastle, halfway inside their own half, which Nick Pope will come out of his box to take.
Again, you can see the intent of Newcastle every time the ball goes dead. Nick Pope's halfway into his own half, and Newcastle Diakite both leaving it for each other and then allowing the ball to bounce on the edge of their own 18-yard area. And Newcastle still have it now down the left side of the box. Here's Hall, looks up early. Senesi comes across and gets an important interception in there, and then Semenyo will try and dribble away with it up towards halfway. He just runs into a wall of green shirts, and Newcastle have it again through Chow inside the centre circle. Sorry, Joe. No, all good. Just sort of suggesting that Newcastle are making it really difficult from those dead ball situations, and Altamada actually is right side of the Bournemouth box to the byline, low cross in straight into the arms of Petrovic. He's pretty mobile, isn't he, for 6'6", 6'7", Altamada. And Dan Burn falls over at the other end, heading it out of play. Oh, and Evan Nielsen wanted to take it quickly with Tavernier, but he's got the pass, the rugby-style pass to Tavernier wrong, and he's launched it over Tavernier's head. The Under Armour was a little too powerful from Evan Nielsen there. I'm not sure what in his credit, or to be fair, I don't know where Tavernier was going to throw that ball, even if he did catch it. So, but again, like you sort of see the enthusiasm from Bournemouth players to want to restart the game quickly. They're sort of running toward balls to put their hand on free kicks and play. They want to sprint to throw-ins to get the ball back in play quickly, and that's been a real staple of their game so far. Is it in sort of that momentum and that front foot aggression, and to be hoping to create an opportunity now.
Jimenez down the right, he looks intent on slamming one into the top corner this afternoon at some point. Tavernier launches one over the top, looking for Evan Nilsson, who turns and applauds the Bournemouth number 10. In terms of position this afternoon, it was just a little bit too much on it from Tavernier, and Newcastle will reset and clear, but to no one in a green shirt, and all the way through to Georgia Petrovic in goal for Bournemouth. Senesi with the diagonal ball from left to right, looking for Semenyo. A rare poor touch from Semenyo at full stretch. He couldn't keep that one in with his orange boots. It skims off the top of where you would normally have laces. I don't think they have laces on football boots these days. Not cool enough. And out of play, throw in.
Well, most
to
do.
Newcastle.
Most do, George, but Semenyo's actually.
Yeah, you're the man to ask.
Yeah, I'm that guy. Most do, but Semenyo's don't. I think Adidas are the only brand, one of very few brands at the moment that make boots laceless, and Semenyo seems to be a fan of them because he's got them on.
Livramento down the right for Newcastle. He gets all the way to the Bournemouth box, marked closely by David Brooks to the byline, stabs one up to the back post. Jimenez gets there and wins the header above Willock, and then clears up towards halfway. Did really well under pressure there, the young Spaniard. Another who just looks like he's been playing in the Premier League, and I know we've only had 41 minutes of his full debut, but he looks like he's been playing here for a few years already. Yeah,
he's done well. He's really, like, when he's been called upon, he's done really well defensively. He's had a couple of nice moments on the ball and found some good passes, and there's sort of couple of early volleys that got the fans maybe on the edge of their chairs for no reason, but he's he looks like he's a good player, and another let's just call it how it is. So far he's just another really good addition into this Bournemouth team.
A couple of loose passes from either side there. Newcastle have it now. Voltemada does well to send it out to the right, and Murphy cross to the back post looking for Willock. Too much on it, but he does keep it in, does Joe Willock. And here's Lewis Hall, about 20 yards out, left side for Newcastle, down in front of the main stand where we're sat. And they go back and reset for Botman, and there's just a rare brief pause in play as Botman puts his foot on the ball. Not seeing too much of that this afternoon. 4 minutes to go, in fact 3 minutes to go plus stoppage time until the break. Time to start thinking about your thoughts on this first half. Jono Holmes would love to hear from you. He's here in the press box at the Vitality Stadium at Solent Sport on X, on social media. 08000 321 333 on WhatsApp. Make Solent the first word of your message. If you're WhatsApping Jono, or if you're texting him, the text number is 81333. Those also need to start with the word Solent. Don't forget they'll be charged at your standard network rate. Talk to him about the end-to-end game so far, about the Bournemouth setup, about the changes, about the full debut for Alex Jimenez, about where you think the breakthrough might come from, about any substitutions you might like to see early in the second half. Long ball from Bournemouth all the way to Pope in goal for Newcastle. Newcastle in green change kit this afternoon. Send the ball from our right to left into the Bournemouth half. It's cut off by Truffert. Alex Scott has it at his feet now, under a bit of pressure from a couple of green shirts. He goes back to Truffert, who then finds Petrovic, and Petrovic, good distribution again from the Serbian, up towards halfway and out to this near right hand side, and Dan Burn all over Antoine Semenyo. Been having a good battle this afternoon, and Semenyo wins a free kick on that occasion, and long overdue as far as the home fans in this main stand are concerned. And then I've missed that, but I'm assuming Dan Burns gestured maybe to someone or something.
I'm not sure, I didn't see it either. But there's a lot of those good matchups all over the pitch today, George. I think Voltemada and Diakite and Senesi is a really good matchup. Semenyo and Lewis Hall and Dan Burns a really good matchup. Evan Nilsson versus Botman's a really good matchup. It's a really interesting game. It sort of hangs on a knife edge, actually, considering we haven't had loads and loads of chances, if sort of really any. It's still a really entertaining game so far, and one you can't really take your eyes off.
Newcastle's first two away games this season have finished 0-0, away at Villa and away at Leeds. Not since Leicester in the 1970s as a team started in the top flight with 3 consecutive away 0-0s. So that tells you maybe we'll get a goal today, hopefully.
That's a great stat, George.
It's not mine, I can't take any credit for it. I just read these things out. Long throw-in down the left-hand side. Say a big thank you to Chris Collison, who compiles the stats for the BBC and sends them around via email before every game. And Tyler Adams is down injured on the halfway line. He's taken a knee in the back, maybe.
Well, I mean, Bolton Marden's that tall, yeah. His knee comes up to sort of Tyler Adams' back, so he's probably just ran into him, and that's where Tyler Adams has sort of received the contact. But whilst I'm sort of talking about Senesi and Diakite being aggressive and being able to sort of get around Voltamada and making his life difficult so far, Tyler Adams, as he always does, is doing a really good job of defending from the front, and he's nicked the ball countless times so far this half. It's not really been mentioned, as he very rarely does, but he's doing a really good job of protecting that Bournemouth backline.
As you may have picked up from Michael Botto in the background there. Botto, of course, who celebrated 500 games on the mic for Bournemouth against Brighton last time out. Congratulations to him for that big milestone. As confirmed, there are 4 minutes stoppage time, which we've just ticked into here. Bournemouth 0, Newcastle 0. BBC Radio Solent and the BBC Sounds app. Lots of great content up on BBC Sounds at the moment, especially from a Bournemouth point of view. If you search for Bournemouth while you're there, please do hit subscribe and make sure that you've got notifications turned on, because as soon as anything gets uploaded to our Cherries page on Sounds, you'll get a notification that's available to listen to. Bournemouth send a long ball forward to the edge of the Newcastle box. It's cut off by the Geordies, but then Jimenez down the right gets another cross in. It ricochets up into the air. Jimenez wins a second header. Evan Nilsson now on the edge of the box, nods it down to Tyler Adams and back towards the halfway line. But Adams sends it to the right, and Tavernier throw in to the Cherries, which probably should have been a Newcastle throw in. Taken quickly, and Diakite finds Alex Scott. Lovely turn by Alex Scott away from Tonali, but then he runs into Chow on the edge of the box, and then Newcastle give it away. Scrappy game at the moment in stoppage time at the end of the first half. Neither team able to hold on to the ball, and Bournemouth attack down the left again, and Truffert charges down Murphy, and it goes out for a goal kick to the visitors.
Yeah, another really messy couple of minutes, could you say, but it's a game of transitions, this, Geordie. It keeps the possession keeps turning over, not through lack of quality, I think more so through a really good pressure from both teams. Like Newcastle and Bournemouth have actually been, as you say, with the statistics back that up, probably two of the top teams in the Premier League for winning the ball back in high areas of the pitch. So there's really no surprise that this game is sort of turned into one that's full of transition and turnover.
Long clearance from Pope. Under a bit of pressure at the back are Diakite and Senesi by Willock, but Senesi does well, clears it straight up into the air, doesn't make it out for a throw-in, so Newcastle have it back under control down this near left-hand side now. Here's Byrne. He's going to go back to the halfway line, and Botman square along halfway to Chow, forward along the ground to the feet of Murphy, whose brother Josh wasn't involved for Pompey yesterday. Injury problem. You can get an update on that if you're a Pompey fan tuned in via John Messino and his interview on the BBC Sounds Pompey page. Lewis Hall goes down. Yellow card to Alex Jimenez for pulling Hall to the ground. Free kick to Newcastle just inside their own half. First yellow card of the game, and it goes to Bournemouth's full debutant Alex Jimenez.
It was a good piece of play actually from Lewis Hall there. He was under pressure, moved the ball off line quickly and managed to get past Jimenez, and as Newcastle have done a few times in this half now, to probably see us out in the last sort of closing minutes of this half. They've got everybody forward, all 4-5 of their 6'7" sort of giants are ready to attack the ball.
That attacking line or the defensive line, whatever way you look at it, halfway inside Bournemouth's half. Hall goes diagonal from left to right to the edge of the box, headed down one by Bournemouth, and David Brooks is there for the second ball, and he will clear up to halfway. Here's Lewis Hall inside the centre circle, unmarked, so has time to look up and pick his delivery towards Dan Byrne on the edge of the box, and Byrne is penalised again for aggressive play, wrestling with Diakite and with Jimenez. Free kick to the Cherries on their edge of their own 18-yard area. We had the 4 minutes of stoppage time at the end of this first half. It's been all action. It's been end to end as the half-time whistle goes, but it's still Bournemouth 0, Newcastle 0. David Brooks with the ball in the back of the net around the 20-minute mark, disallowed for offside. It looked a long way offside, but was actually pretty close in the end, as we got a glimpse of the automated offside decision. But promising signs from the Cherries again, and at the same extent they've had to be alert to Newcastle's attacking threat at the other end. Joe Partington, your first half assessment at 0-0.
Well, really can't build a strong opinion, Jordan, on the way that I think this game is going to go. I think that Newcastle, what we probably will see from Newcastle in the second half is changes, and their strongest players are actually currently on the bench, so that will shift how the game is flowing. But both teams have looked to attack and win the ball back high. Both teams have sort of managed to cause somewhat problems without actually creating any proper goal scoring opportunities. David Brooks' goal that was ruled out for offside was much closer than what you and I first had it down as, but it's just a really well matched game. It's two football teams that are really close in terms of ability and sort of different formations that are creating different problems for each team. But yeah, really well balanced game so far.
More from Joe Partington to come in the second half. During the break, your messages please at Solent Sport on X for your reaction to that first 45. 08000 321 333 on WhatsApp. Make Solent the first word of your message. 81333 on the text. Start those with the word Solent to half-time scores from elsewhere to come with Jono Holmes. But at the break at the Vitality Stadium in the Premier League, Bournemouth 0, Newcastle 0.
This is BBC Radio Solent Sport.
9 minutes to 3, Solent Sport for Sunday afternoon on what's been a very entertaining game so far here in the Premier League at Vitality Stadium, but it is goalless between the Cherries and Newcastle as it stands. Get your thoughts into me on the text on WhatsApp and on X as well. Thanks very much. Alan says great first half for Bournemouth, keep pushing in the second half and the goals will come. Gordon says our final pass seems to be letting us down, need to find the net, not really tested Pope as of yet, need to score early as I think Newcastle will bring on their big guns in the second half. Keep your thoughts coming in on WhatsApp, on the text and on X as well. We're also across a big afternoon of women's football on Solent Sport in WSL 2. Both Southampton and Portsmouth are at home. First up, Saints. Tom Murray is at St Mary's for Southampton versus Bristol City.
Well, we've still got a couple of minutes of added time to go here in the first half after an injury to Southampton's Megan Collette. She was forced off after 43 minutes. Southampton, well, they started the game really brightly and peppered the Bristol City goal. Ellie Brazil and Abby Ferguson coming closest. Now they're just coming forward, are Southampton, and they're shooting from range, and that's gone straight into the arms of Fran Bentley. That was from Abby Ferguson, who has really been giving the left back for Bristol City a torrid time this afternoon. She and Brazil have combined well, but it's Michaela Macaloni who's come closest for Southampton to breaking the deadlock after just 12 minutes when she was fed through on goal by Atlanta Primus but was unable to keep her left-footed shot under the bar. It's still goalless. We've still got about a minute left of this first half. Hopefully we'll see an actual goal in the second.
So goalless at St Mary's between Southampton and Bristol City. What about at Fratton Park, where Pompey are hosting Sheffield United? And Jana Gadgill.
Yes, and still a couple of minutes of added on time here in the first half, where Portsmouth have scored the only goal. Meg Hornby floating in a free kick from the left-hand side, which dipped over keeper Charlotte Parker-Smith's head. She could have had another 2 minutes later as she cut in from the left-hand side, but that was easily saved. But Sheffield United have had their chances. Amy Andrews was brought down in the box. She was given a penalty, which then hit the bar, and she scored on the rebound, but it was disallowed. And they've just now thought they'd scored. Jess Gray, the goalkeeper, jumping up to save after a corner. Sheffield United thought the ball was over the line, but the referee waved play on. So going into half-time, Portsmouth 1, Sheffield United 0. Couple more minutes still to play.
Thanks very much, Anne Jana at Fratton Park in Women's National League Premier Division South. AFC Bournemouth currently 0-0 with Cheltenham at Ringwood. In cricket, Hampshire's women are in one-day cup final action right now at Utilita Bowl, taking on Lancashire. Earlier on, Hampshire were into bat first, 288 for 6. The Hawks posted, so Lancashire in reply to that, currently 48 for 1. So you need 241 runs to win from 40.2 overs at the moment. We're going to head for commentary of that shortly during half-time here at Vitality Stadium. I'll update you on some of the other scores and sports news as well, all on the home of live sports across the south.
BBC Radio Solent Sport.
When the unlikeliest people create culinary masterpieces. When you can't believe they had a meltdown over some pastry. When every plate of food is perfection.
This is making me so hungry.
Good, because it's your turn to cook.
Nothing brings us together like great TV. And a TV licence covers you to watch all TV channels with enough cooking shows to satisfy the biggest appetite. It also funds everything you love from the BBC, including iPlayer and live radio. Like this.
BBC Radio Solent. Jono Holmes.
BBC Radio Solent Sport.
Welcome along to Solent Sport for Sunday afternoon, 5 to 3. We are live here at Vitality Stadium where it's half-time between Bournemouth and Newcastle in the Premier League. Goalless at the break. A really entertaining first half though. You can't take your eyes off of this one, so it's going to be an interesting second half. Thank you very much Martin, Nicky, Ryan Bow and Charlie the dog in three-legged cross for your message. And glad that you're not leaving anyone off that name check of people there. Saying look good for the first 20 minutes, just need a little more cutting edge in the final third in the second half. Up the Cherries. Thanks very much for this message as well. No name on it. As a Cherries fan, I thought since we lost a few key players, I worry from the start of this season what our new players would be able to do and how they would fill their boots. I'm absolutely amazed with our new players. They've been a great fit and they look like they've played 2 or 3 years in the Premier League. Hopefully we can get the 3 points today. The text is 81333, Solent first word. WhatsApp 08000 321 333. Again, Solent's at the start of your message. And we're on X as well, at Solent Sport. Some other scores then to bring you up to speed with in the Premier League. The other 2 o'clock game is Sunderland against Aston Villa. That's currently goalless as well as things stand up in the northeast. The 4:30 game is Arsenal up against Manchester City in the Premier League. And one other game in the Championship getting underway at 3 is Bristol City up against Oxford. So that gets underway in just a few moments' time. Women's scores, WSL 2 concerning our team. Southampton 0, Bristol City 0. Tom Murray's there giving us updates from St Mary's. It's Portsmouth 1, Sheffield United 0 at half-time as well. Women's National League Premier Division South, Bournemouth 0, Cheltenham 0 as it stands at Ringwood. And in the league below, it's Worthing 0, Moneyfields 0. Bournemouth Sports are 1-1 with Marine Academy Plymouth. Yesterday, by the way, in the men's Premier League, Liverpool beat Everton by 2-1 in the Merseyside derby. It was Brighton 2, Spurs 2, Burnley 1, Forest 1. It was West Ham 1, Palace 2. He's under serious pressure now is West Ham boss Graham Potter. More on that on the BBC Sport website. Wolves 1, Leeds 3. It was Manchester United 2, Chelsea 1, Fulham 3, Brentford 1. And of course in the Championship for our two sides yesterday, both falling to defeats. Portsmouth fell to a disappointing 2-0 home loss to struggling Sheffield Wednesday. Didn't see that one coming, I've got to be honest. While Southampton went to Hull and lost 3-1 in a dismal afternoon for Southampton in the pouring rain on Humberside. So you can hear on BBC Sounds right now the thoughts of Will Steele, the Saints boss, and John Musino, the Pompey boss as well. And also yesterday evening we had the news that Eastleigh have sacked Calvin Davis following their loss at home to Braintree yesterday. You can get more on that on X right now at Solent Sports. It was a busy day of cricket as well because of course we had Hampshire's men in one-day cup final action yesterday and they followed up their T20 final loss to Somerset with defeat to Worcestershire in the 50-over cup final at Trent Bridge. So 2 defeats in finals in a week for Hampshire. Worcestershire beat them by 3 wickets with 2 balls to spare. It was a bit of a rain-affected thriller, that one. Elsewhere, in Formula 1, Red Bull's Max Verstappen won the Azerbaijan Grand Prix in Baku a little bit earlier on. George Russell was second for Mercedes with Carlos Sainz third for Williams. Oscar Piastri, the championship leader, crashed out on the first lap there, and his McLaren teammate Lando Norris finished 7th with Lewis Hamilton 8th for Ferrari. And at the final day of the World Athletics Championships in Tokyo, Georgia Hunter-Bell took silver in the women's 800 metres a little bit earlier on. The Olympic champion Keely Hodgkinson claimed the bronze. Solent Sports at 3 o'clock on the nose. That's Jono Holmes here at Vitality Stadium. We'll be back with live commentary of the Cherries up against Newcastle shortly, where it's goalless at the break. Let's head for some live commentary of Hampshire's women's action. They're in one-day cup final action today against Lancashire at Utilita Bowl. We can tell you right now the score, by the way, in this. Hampshire earlier on posting 288 for 6. Lancashire in response of 52 for 1, so needing 237 runs to win from 39 overs. Let's head for some commentary right now, which you can get on the BBC Sport website and app, with Amelia Clark, Kevin James and the team.
Sam, this is for the win. For the Vans.
Not sure if we're able to bring you that commentary at the moment, but it is on the BBC Sport website and app if you would like to go and have a little listen of that. Maybe we'll have a little listen to Will Steele's thoughts, the Saints boss, because it's only one win for Southampton in the league so far this season, and that was on the opening day of the Championship campaign, wasn't it, against Wrexham, when they left it very late to come back. But Saints still searching for a win since then in the league, and it was a really damaging defeat yesterday on Humberside away at Hull, who have been struggling themselves of late. So let's hear from Will Steele now, the Saints boss, speaking to Adam Blackmore following that defeat.
Will, that was a very tough afternoon. You must be pretty unhappy.
Yeah, I'm really disappointed. I think we've worked incredibly hard on things out of possession. I think we've worked hard on things in possession. I think for large parts of that game we were totally in control, but we've just gifted 3 goals away. The first one's come from a cross from miles out. We've not met the first contact. We've parried it straight back into the feet. We're not ready to defend it, and gifted that first goal. And you sort of walk in at half time thinking, how are we not in this game? How are we not at least level? Because you've got a big opportunity to level things up, but we didn't take it, and then come back out second half again, totally in control, doing some interesting stuff. But we've gifted a goal by losing a ball on a halfway line, and then just to make things worse, you gift a set piece and just make it easy for them. So no, as long as we're defending like that, we're not gonna go anywhere. So I'll take it on me. I'll take it for as my responsibility, and we just need to get on with things.
See, what you said before the weekend is the stuff that you don't want to keep saying. You're bored of saying individual mistakes, individual errors, doing the same things, and it's happened again. Again, maybe that's my responsibility to get that message right and to make things work. And it's not quite happening. And I think it's really disappointing, especially when you actually look at the content. We've been in control but just gifted it away again. So it's incredibly frustrating and disappointing. At the other end of the pitch, you're still trying to find the magic combinations that are going to unlock defences. I mean, it wasn't quite there today. Is that fair? I mean, you did a lot of good approach work, especially early in the second half, but there wasn't enough end product again to work the keeper enough.
Yeah, but it's also belief. Belief of getting in the box and making first contact and getting in front of your defender, and having that hunger and desire to make a difference and sit the ball in the back of the net. And whether that's personality or just pure desire. But it's not good enough for both ends of the pitch. I think the stuff with ball, it was better than compared to last week. We're progressing on that, but if you can't sit the ball in the back of the net, they've done it 3 times and won the game. So it's simple as that.
You're still looking for the right man to lead the line? You've tried Cameron, now you've given Damien a go. Adam started the season, he's still waiting for someone to put their hand up, aren't you, and claim it?
Yeah, I just want someone to stick the ball in the back of the net. I think it's as simple as that.
Okay, just a last question. You've obviously not got long to turn things round with regards midweek. What do you do now? You just literally reset and try and wipe it off and forget it?
You just got to go again. Tweak a few things, defend better than we have today, because we're not going to win a single game of football defending like that. Keep moving forward. There's another game on Tuesday, there's another game on Saturday, and just get on with it.
That was the thoughts of Saints boss Will Steele speaking to Adam Blackmore following the 3-1 defeat at Hull City yesterday in the Championship for Southampton. You can get the thoughts of John Musino on BBC Sounds right now. We will play out Musino's thoughts following the conclusion of this game here at Vitality Stadium between Bournemouth and Newcastle. And the players are back out on the pitch, by the way, for second half, and it was a really entertaining first half, so let's see how this second 45 goes. BBC Sound smart speaker, all Solent frequencies for this commentary, with Joe Partington alongside Jordan Clark, your commentator.
Thank you, Jono. We will have Joe Partington back with us in a minute. He's just in a warm embrace with Shwan Jalal, the Newcastle goalkeeper coach, former Cherries goalkeeper, who has sat in the press box watching the game this afternoon because there's not enough room for all the former Bournemouth players on the Newcastle bench down on the touchline. Right, doesn't look like any changes for either side, so as you were at 0-0 when the half-time whistle went. Bournemouth, Petrovic in goal, Jimenez, Diakite, Senesi and Truffert, the back four from right to left. I take it back, in fact, there is a change. Jimenez hasn't re-emerged and James Hill is coming on. Jimenez on a yellow card, so I wonder whether that has played a part in that change for Bournemouth at the break. So James Hill back in it right back, Jimenez off after 45 minutes of his full debut, and he looked really good, did Alex Jimenez, so that's a bit of a shame for the Cherries. James Hill will have to slot in straight away. Newcastle to get us back underway. Newcastle, green tops, white shorts, white socks, have smashed the ball straight out of play into the away end, the right-hand third of the east stand, and it's a throw into the Cherries in a right-back position to put James Hill under pressure immediately, I'm sure was the intention. I doubt they meant to kick it quite that far. So Newcastle shooting from our left to right towards the Ted McDougall. South stand Bournemouth, red and black, striped tops, black shorts, black socks from our right to left towards the Steve Fletcher North stand in this second half. So Bournemouth with that change have Petrovic in goal, Hill at right back, Diakite Senesi at centre back, Truffert at left back, Tyler Adams and Alex Scott in midfield, Tavernier ahead of them in the 10, David Brooks and Anton Semenyo are wide, with Evan Nilsson through the middle up front for Bournemouth. Long ball forward from Senesi, cut off in the right back position by Livramento, and then cleared up to halfway by Newcastle, and their striker Voldemada goes down under a bit of pressure, and then it's out of play, but it's a throw into the Cherries down the left hand side about 10 yards into Newcastle territory off of the foot of Murphy. Bournemouth's bench: Soler, Christie, Gannon-Doak, Kluivert, Adley, Krupi, Milosavljevic and Will Dennis, the sub-goalkeeper. Of course, still 3 windows to make changes, having made one at half-time for Andoni Iraola. Newcastle have Pope in goal. They have Chow, Botman and Byrne as 3 central defenders. Wing-backs Livramento down the right and Hall down the left. Lewis Miley and Sandro Tonali are the 2 central midfielders. Then it's Jacob Murphy and Joe Willock either side of Nick Voldemada up front for Newcastle. Their bench: Trippier, Lascelles, Joe Linton, Barnes, Kraft, Osula, Alanga, Guimaraes and Ramsdale, the former Bournemouth goalkeeper, is their substitute for between the sticks. Here are Bournemouth down the left hand side. David Brooks, who had a goal disallowed in the first half. Best chance for either side for offside. He whips a ball into the front post, cleared only as far as Alex Scott, 25 yards out, just left of centre, tries to play one into Tyler Adams on the edge of the area, and then Alex Scott gives away a free kick as the ball bounced off of Tyler Adams. Scott tried to win it back. Free kick to Newcastle. Welcome back, Joe Partington, distracted again by Shwan Jalal. Too many former teammates and friends around today.
Yeah, it's a good day for that. It's nice to see a lot of people. I spent a bit of time with obviously some of the old guys earlier, and particularly Stephen Purchase, who I'm really fond of, and yeah, it's a nice opportunity to say hello to people. On our left shoulder at half time, just saw Adam Smith chatting away to Matt Ritchie and Lewis Grabban, who are here as well. So Sunday's a good day, actually. A lot of people come out on Sundays, I think, when they don't have their own match days to obviously watch Bournemouth, and particularly with the relationship between most of the staff at Newcastle, it's nice to see them all too. I actually do want to mention that
ball over the top, looking for Tavernier, who's got a sprint on. Nick Pope's come out of his 18-yard area and clears with his feet up into the Bournemouth half. Marcus Senesi is backpedaling to the edge of his 18-yard area and just clears straight back into the Newcastle half. Chow gets up and wins the header. David Brooks brings it under control under a bit of pressure on the touchline, and he can't keep it in. It's a throw into Newcastle. Sorry, Joe.
Yeah, just highlighting the fact that kickoffs now are just amazing.
Just smash it into the air as far as you can, like into the opposition's half and hope for the best.
Bournemouth's kick-off in the first half rolls back to Alex Scott, and he flicks the ball up to himself and then hits a volley as high up into the air as he possibly can. And then Newcastle have just taken a second half kick off and just booted it in the court. Like it's an amazing sign of like old school football.
This is the very highest level, and we've seen 2 kickoffs booted into the air, and we've just seen Tino Livramento with a foul throw right down in front of us. It's
brilliant. Football's
like we've been transformed back to school.
Yeah, football's back.
Long ball forward from Bournemouth at the back. Livramento on the halfway with a controlled side foot to Botman, who goes back to Pope, who's under pressure on his left foot with the clearance. Good pressing from David Brooks, and the Pope clearance goes straight out of play in front of the East stand opposite us. Throw into Bournemouth, which James Hill will take. What do you make of that change at half time then? Jimenez off, Hill on. Jimenez on a yellow card. Is that why?
Yeah, I'd say so, because I think he's had a good first half, but the Araujo maybe in that Brentford
Bournemouth
Cup
edge
game.
of the box. Tavernier pulls the trigger out to Semenyo just outside the D, lays it off to Brooks to the left side. Brooks cross deflects up into the air, headed away by Botman, and then Diakite in a physical battle with Valdemado on halfway, and Bournemouth win it back. Senesi, little dink to the edge of the area. Brooks looking to win the header, which he does. He can't find Semenyo or Tavernier, and now Newcastle will drift up towards halfway through Willock.
Yeah, I think Jimenez would have come off because of that booking. Jordan just sort of mentioned that the Brentford Cup game, Araujo obviously spends most of the game on a booking, ends up being sent off, and then puts himself out of action for a game or so. So the manager probably off the back of that experience, it may be being advised by his staff, let's not take the risk, especially in a game that's so important and it's been so well balanced. And it's not like James Hill, before the game we weren't sure whether James Hill was going to start or not, so it's not like it's now a demotion, like the team's going to look worse. Like it's sort of a like for like, really.
Tonali, edge of the Bournemouth box. Here's Livramento, right side of it, 18 yards out. Bournemouth just failing to clear on a couple of occasions, but they do defend well. And then Charles put under pressure from Evan Nilsson on the halfway line as Newcastle look to set something up. Botman sends it out to the left, and Hall down the line looking for Willock. Willock's got a sprint on, one-on-one with Diakite. Diakite does really well, gets goal side, and then calmly lays it back to his goalkeeper Petrovic, and his lime green goalkeeper kit will clear up towards the halfway line. Balmy 15-degree conditions at the Vitality Stadium this afternoon. The blue skies disappeared, cloud overhead. Here's Tonali driving into the Bournemouth box. Back heel to Livramento, right side of the area, crosses into the area. Valdemado goes down, hits the deck. Feels he was pulled down by Diakite. Looked really soft from the big German. It was a heavy touch from him. The ball got away from him, and he realised he wasn't going to get on the end of it, so he just threw himself to the ground. He was desperate for a penalty. Boos ring around the Vitality Stadium.
Yeah, I think he was favourite actually to stay on the ball there, so I think it's a strange decision for him to go down. I'd actually be concerned if I was a Bournemouth fan that there might be more in this than what the referee's made out to be. If his shirt has been pulled quite a lot, then often VAR want to go back and highlight that, but obviously it doesn't look like the referee's been given a shout to stop the game. But yeah, I think it's concerning. It's just sort of worried about the fact that Valdemado is in possession of the ball. I don't understand why he would have gone to ground in that moment.
Ball's gone out for a goal kick to Newcastle. Rob Jones isn't holding the play, which suggests that any check there was is complete. There is a decent handful from Diakite on the left arm of Valdemado, but again, he's a big boy, Joe. It's not enough to make him fall to the ground like that.
No, but we've obviously seen defenders being penalised so far this season for
Semenyo at the other end now. Lovely from Semenyo to the edge of the box, still going, gets a lucky ricochet onto his right foot. Livramento with a really important block as he was falling to the ground. Semenyo and Livramento have both stayed down inside the box. The referee stopped play and the physios are sprinting on. Semenyo doing what he does best, driving forward with intent for Bournemouth from near enough the halfway line, smashing his way through, blasting past Newcastle players, and just as he went to pull the trigger,
it's a really good tackle from Livramento there, as you just say, George, as he was just about to pull the trigger. I actually stood out my seat. I thought it opened up for Semenyo when he just sort of managed to buffalo his way through the tackle of TR, sort of who looked as if he was the last man. And I just thought that the goal was opening up for him, but it looks like now there's sort of a little bit of concern now about Semenyo. And
Semenyo doesn't stay down can't remember too many occasions where Semenyo has stayed down injured, and he's just lifted his shirt up. He's lying on his back, he's receiving treatment, he's just lifted his shirt up over to cover his head. He looks like he's in some significant pain, Antoine Semenyo. And Livramento too. It was a really awkward clash between the pair of them. We're seeing replay after replay of that Voltemada penalty shout and the discussions he and Diakite had afterwards.
Yeah, you can sort of see Voltemada talking, like saying maybe the same thing that I was sort of mentioning, is that he's in possession of the ball. Like, why would he go down? It's actually a strange decision for him to go down, or unless he feels like the pull from Diakite on his arm is that strong that it genuinely is affecting his ability to either make a decision or play a pass or whatever. So, but again, like end-to-end stuff in this game is sort of can't really take your eyes off it. It's not changed in any way in this first 10 or so minutes of the second half.
Semenyo, whose name is ringing around the Vitality Stadium at the moment, you'll be pleased to hear, Cherries fans, he's up on his feet. I mean, he's not moving that great, but he is up on his feet, and he's slowly working his way into, or trying to get into, a bit of a jog off towards the touchline to run that injury, whatever it is, his ankle, his right ankle, I think, off. It takes a lot for Antoine Semenyo to stay down. Livramento on his feet as well. He's also off on this near side, so both players waiting to be waved back on by referee Rob Jones as the ball gets sent long into the Bournemouth half, and Petrovic will come out and scoop it up with his hands about 16 yards out from his own goal line and roll it out to Senesi, and the Argentinian sends it square infield to the Frenchman Diakite with a square ball infield, out to the right, and then infield from Hill, who's on as a half-time substitute for Alex Jimenez. Here's Alex Scott just dribbling up to the halfway line and then sending the ball out to the left. Semenyo's back on over on the right, Livramento's back on it right back. Both players look to be moving well, and Bournemouth have the ball on halfway. Senesi is dictating things again at the back for the Cherries. And so many pleasant surprises, shall we say, to this season, and maybe players who, not written off, but maybe not at the top of everyone's starting 11. They've been performing really well. Here come Newcastle over on the left in front of the East Stand. Tavernier, brilliant from Tavernier. Just nicked the ball away. Sorry, Jack.
Yeah, it was a great reaction, Jordan, wasn't it? Obviously to Bournemouth losing the ball, but even Alex Scott obviously tries to find a pass out wide that gets intercepted by Lewis Hall. But again, it was from a pass that breaks the line by Senesi to find Alex Scott, who takes the ball on the half turn very, very well.
David Brooks looks up through the middle. Lovely pass into Semenyo, into the box, goes down on the edge of the area. That was tight, doesn't get a free kick. Again, they'll check it back in Stockley Park. I don't think it was inside the area, so I think that check will be pretty quick. No free kick, play continues. Rob Jones just receiving some instructions, some information from Stockley Park in his ear by the looks of it. Here's Livramento down the right for Newcastle now. Petrovic comes out and claims, pats it down into the ground, and then gathers the second ball and rolls it out quickly to Tavernier. It's end-to-end again at the Vitality Stadium. Bournemouth 0, Newcastle 0. 10 minutes gone in the second half.
So much aggression on the pitch from both teams, Jordan, in terms of their defending and trying to win the ball back high. There's literally no let up for really any players, apart from when everybody on the defensive team are back behind the ball, which now we're finding with Bournemouth. But as we've touched on in the first half, in those transitions where maybe an opposition player of Bournemouth and Newcastle are able to put pressure on the ball, they're really going at it, and that's the reason why there's been so many turnovers so far in this game, and most opportunities that each team have had to score have come off the back of the other team winning the ball back.
Diakite is having a real physical battle with Voltemada in this second half, like they did in the first, and with a bit of help from Alex Scott, they've won that battle there, and Alex Scott sends it out to the left-hand side. Too much on it for Evan Nilsson, bows it out of play, throw into Newcastle halfway inside their own territory, in a right-back position where Livramento will take. Those Newcastle fans opposite us have been really loud this afternoon, and despite the balmy 15-degree conditions, I can only see 2 naked Newcastle Geordie torsos, which I think is quite low. You normally get a good 4 or 5 in the away end down here on the south coast. They make the most of the good weather. Here's Tonali, right corner of the Bournemouth box, curls one towards the back post, Hall's there, keeps it in, cries of handball as it bounces off his left foot into his arm, and then Semenyo will smash clear into the Newcastle half, and Evan Nilsson is on the sprint trying to put a bit of pressure on. as the Newcastle defenders sprint back towards their own goal line. We're going to see some changes, I think, for Newcastle and Eddie Howe in a moment, and maybe Bournemouth too. Looks like Ryan Christie might be being called back, and someone else is receiving instructions, but I can't see who for Bournemouth at the moment. Justin Kluivert, I think, Bournemouth's hat-trick hero away at St James's Park last winter in that brilliant Bournemouth win. Here's Livramento for Newcastle, right side of the Bournemouth box. Truffert defends well and clears only as far as Tonali gets up and wins a header out of play for Bournemouth. In the left back position, let's head to St Mary's. Southampton women against Bristol City women. Tom Murray's watching them in the WSL2.
Oh, Jordan, we're only 10 minutes into the second half, and I don't know how Southampton haven't taken the lead. Bristol City had a free kick on halfway, which they decided to hit into the box, but Southampton cleared it, and there was no one back for Bristol City bar one defender, and Ferguson and McAloney had the whole half to run into. They kept on playing it between each other. It went to Ferguson inside the box, and she somehow hit it wide from about 6 yards out. Bristol City having a chance of themselves, and that's just hit the post. Well, Jordan, there's going to be a goal at some point. It can't come much closer.
Thanks, Tom. Still 0-0 at St Mary's in that one. Pompey women still 1-0 up against Sheffield United, also in WSL 2, and still 0-0 in the Southern Premier Division, the Women's National League, between Bournemouth and Cheltenham, taking place at Ringwood this afternoon. Goalless here at the Vitality Stadium 2 between Bournemouth and Newcastle. We're live on BBC Radio Solent and the BBC Sounds app and smart speakers across the UK. An hour gone, still waiting for the breakthrough, and changes are about to happen for both teams. Here's Lewis Hall on the left for Newcastle now, driving towards the edge of the Bournemouth box. Antoine Semenyo back defending for the Cherries, wins it and then launches it into the Newcastle half, looking for David Brooks. David Brooks is after it. He gets taken out, wiped out by Chowell off the ball, American football style, so that Nick Pope can come through and clear, having hesitated on the edge of his box. And Andoni Iraola can't believe it. Neither can Tommy Elphick down on the technical area for Bournemouth. And Evan Nilsson's won it back well now around the centre circle for the Cherries. Antoine Semenyo in a battle over on the right hand side. Rob Jones in danger of just losing control of this game a little bit. There are players down all over the place. Tonali's down, Willock's down, Iraola's furious. Joe Partington, your take on that off-ball wipeout from Malik Chowell?
Yeah, it's actually a good piece of defending from Chowell. He sees the run of David Brooks to put pressure on the goalkeeper and steps across him as most defenders would. There is an argument for obstruction, but it's just a part of the game, really, unless he's like actually going out of his way to manhandle him and throw him to the ground. So long as he uses his body, I think it's good defending. But as we expected, early changes, both Bournemouth and Newcastle have been well known for doing this, and obviously as the clock just turns over an hour, we're about to see changes to both of Newcastle's forward line, and a couple of really important players last season for Bournemouth. As you said, obviously Justin Kluivert had a hat-trick away at Newcastle last season. Christie and Kluivert are about to enter the field of play again.
So both wingers off for Newcastle. Harvey Barnes and Anthony Elanga, their £55 million signing from Nottingham Forest, come onto the wings. Joe Willock and Jacob Murphy off. Alex Scott's heading off for Bournemouth. Ryan Christie, who missed the Brighton game with a slight problem, has recovered and is heading back on for Bournemouth into their engine room. And David Brooks is also heading off for the Cherries. His goal disallowed in the first half for offside. Best chance of the game so far for either side. He's going to be replaced by Bournemouth's joint top goal scorer from last season, who, having got injured in pre-season, has struggled to get himself back into the starting 11. Such has been the quality of Bournemouth's start this season. Justin Kluivert is heading on.
Yeah, as you say, George, the quality of Bournemouth so far this season has meant that Justin Kluivert's not been able to get in the starting 11 from the beginning of a game, but he's arguably one of Bournemouth's best players, if not the best, so hopefully he can have a positive effect on this game now.
Free kick taken, and Elanga gets a first touch down the right. Early cross into the box, cleared by Senesi. Change for Bournemouth means Tavernier's gone into a wide position now, and Justin Kluivert's gone into that familiar number 10 role where he featured last season for the Cherries. Throw into Newcastle, 18 yards out, down the right. Tino Livramento will take. As a Bournemouth fan decides not to throw the ball back to Tino Livramento. and just chuck it on the floor instead. And because there is a multi-ball system, Tino Livramento gives him a dirty look and just picks the next one up off the cone. Marcos Senesi heads clear for the Cherries and clears the 18-yard line, but the ball's going to come back over on the left-hand side through Miley and Hall. Good pressing from Marcus Tavernier, who takes the captain's armband off of David Brooks. And it'll be a throw into Newcastle in front of the BBC Radio Solent advertising board opposite us, which I'm seeing for the first time this season in bright purple. That'll look good on the TV cameras later. Throw into Newcastle. I'm not sure the throwing down the left-hand side is going to make the highlights on Match of the Day, but you never know.
Bournemouth look like as if they've just shuffled the pack a little bit. Obviously, Justin Kluivert's come on as a number 10. Tavernier's gone left midfield. Semenyo's gone out to right midfield. Evan Nilsson stays as a number 9, but there'll be a different dynamic now and between obviously that front line of Bournemouth as the couple of the players have moved around.
Both managers making their move. Anthony Elanga can't keep the ball down the line in from Livramento, and it's a goal kick to Georgia Petrovic. Bournemouth 0, Newcastle 0, 65 minutes gone. BBC Radio Solent and BBC Sounds across the UK. I mentioned everything on BBC Sounds at the moment. You can get a brand new episode of Cherries Unpicked with myself and Joe Partington, which features a pronunciation guide talking you through the Diakites, I'm still getting it wrong, the Milosavljeviches, the Jimenezes. And we are by no means the definitive answer on any of them, but we've had a good go.
It's still up to interpretation, isn't it?
Just search for Bournemouth on the BBC Sounds app. You can also find a good interview as well with Abby Jones, the FC Bournemouth women's captain, reacting to the news that Helen Blezard has been appointed as their permanent head coach. 0-0 for them still at home to Cheltenham. They've got off to a brilliant start in the third tier of women's football, unbeaten, joint top of the table along with Watford. Here's Truffert down this near left-hand side. Another foul throw, not spotted this time. Can't remember what game I was listening to on the radio in the week. One of the players, it was a Premier League player I think, in one of the European games, did a foul throw and couldn't understand why it had been given, and the linesman had to explain it to him and lift his foot up and demonstrate to the player why it had been given as a foul throw.
I think I saw those images too. It's amazing, isn't it? Obviously, we talk about like the goal, not the goal kicks, the kickoffs, the throw-ins, like the essentially the basics of the game, but still managing to be made difficult by the very best players in the world.
Oh, clash of heads between two Newcastle players, Dan Burn and Miley. Miley got straight back up, Burn stayed down. The referee rightly stopped the game because that did look nasty, but the home fans not particularly pleased with that because the ball was in Bournemouth's possession. But even Andoni Iraola saying fair enough. Miley's okay, Dan Burn's now sat up, but that was a lack of communication between the pair. And I think they're both going to be okay. Yeah, Dan Burns back up, neither needing treatment. Maybe it wasn't as bad as we first thought. And now Andoni Iraola, who was fine with it, perhaps isn't happy because I think it's allowed Newcastle, I don't know what he's unhappy with now, something. Ball's given back to Bournemouth and play gets straight back underway, and they're going to play down the left. Iraola won't mind if they score from this attack now. Tavernier back to Senesi. Now Gladiador under pressure from Tonali. We'll go back to Petrovic. Petrovic finds Diakite, who's just dropped a little deep inside his own half to receive the pass, and then finds James Hill down the right. Hill goes direct forward, looking for Kluivert. Cleared by Newcastle, and Harvey Barnes has it now for the Magpies and try to find Elanga, his fellow second half substitute down the right. Truffert read it well and cleared for Bournemouth. And Bournemouth win it back on halfway through Christie, and Evan Nilsson square infield to Kluivert. Kluivert looks to his left and finds Tavernier now, left side of the Newcastle box. Livramento gets back to hold Tavernier up. Ryan Christie is buzzing and bouncing around the midfield for the Cherries, having just come on. And it's Tyler Adams and Tavernier, and Truffaut's advanced into the final third of Newcastle's half. Senesi through the middle now to Kluivert, who's found a tiny bit of room. Christie's to his right hand side. Here is Christie, 25 yards out, sends it out to the right touchline, and James Hill back down the line looking for Christie, does keep it in and wants a corner, but it's given as a goal kick. Bournemouth 0, Newcastle 0. Joe Partington, just maybe a little bit of sting out of the game since the subs have come on.
Yeah, I think the game's finding its rhythm again, isn't it? Now that they're like 4 players coming on the pitch does completely change the dynamic of the game. And I think both teams are sort of trying to find a rhythm, trying to find actually a little bit of balance now as to what it might look like. Elanga obviously plays in a much different way to Murphy. Harvey Barnes plays in a much different way to Joe Willock, as do Justin Kluivert and obviously Christie to Alex Scott and Brooks. It's so the balance of the game is still really hanging by a thread, to be honest. No one seems to be taking control, but plenty of opportunity out there still to create chances to score, and still can't call either way how I feel like this game is going to go.
Ball's back with True Fair. The Bournemouth left back in his orange boots will send it out to the right. Goal elsewhere in the Premier League. Aston Villa have scored away at Sunderland. Is that their first goal? Or did they get one last time? I can't remember. Matty Cash with the goal anyway to give Sunderland the lead. And we will head to Fratton Park shortly as well for an update on the game in WSL 2 between Pompey Women and Sheffield United. As soon as we get a little pause in play here at the Vitality Stadium, where it's Bournemouth 0, Newcastle 0 with 20 minutes to go, and Bournemouth have passed it straight to Dan Burn. And here's Dan Burn driving forward from the halfway line, finds Tonali to his right. Newcastle just held up about 20 yards out and pushed wide left now, and Harvey Barnes is going to try and beat James Hill, and he does beat James Hill, gets across to the back post. And too much on it for Elanga, and Marcus Tavernier is there to chest down and then clear and put it out of play. Throw in to Newcastle. Livramento's going to look to take it quickly down this near right hand side and goes back to the halfway line, and Chow.
Interesting, that ball broke down off the back of Diakite trying to find a pass to Justin Kluivert, and those two haven't really played with one another, so there's still, even though we're so early on in the season, there's still relationships on the pitch that aren't really that familiar yet.
Livramento down the right for Newcastle, about 12 yards out. Tonali delivers a ball into the box. It's a dangerous one. Diakite heads clear. Lewis Hall bring it under control over on the left hand side. Dan Burn is on the underlap and receives the pass. Left-footed cross hanging in the air towards the back post. Tavernier heads it away only as far as Tonali, about 30 yards out, central position. And then Chow's there with a low ball into the box, looking for Voltamado, can't bring it under control, bounces off with the big German striker, and behind for a goal kick. Let's head to Fratton Park. Pompey Women against Sheffield United, and Jana Gadgill.
And Jordan, Sheffield United should just have equalised. Lauren Thomas had only just come on for Sheffield United and she was clear on goal, but her shot sailed just left of the post. In fact, United came out the stronger team in this second half. They had two early chances in quick succession. Before that goal attempt just then by Lauren Thomas, Portsmouth had had the best chance of the half so far. The goal scorer Megan Hormy skipping past defenders on the left hand side and setting up Ava Rowbotham, a move that deserved a goal, but her shot well over the crossbar. So midway through the second half, it's Portsmouth 1, Sheffield United 0.
And Jana, thank you. Going so far so good for Pompey. Saints women are 0-0 with Bristol City, and Bournemouth women are 0-0 as Newcastle nearly get themselves a mess at the back. Nick Pope under pressure from Justin Kluivert. They just about get away with it, and the ball's down this near side now. It's a throw into Newcastle. It's Livramento, their right back, will take it. Bournemouth women 0-0 with Cheltenham. And elsewhere in the Premier League today, Sunderland 0, Villa 0. Got Arsenal Man City to come later on. Yesterday, Liverpool 2, Everton 1, Brighton 2, Spurs 2, Burnley 1, Forest 1, West Ham 1, Palace 2. Pressure growing on Graham Potter. Wolves 1, Leeds 3, Man U 2, Chelsea 1, and Fulham 3, Brentford 1. Gemma McGuinness has just put Bournemouth women 1-0 up against Cheltenham over at Ringwood at the moment in the Women's National League. Here come Newcastle down the left, over on the far side. Dan Burn turns away from Tyler Adams. Square ball to the top of the box in Harvey Barnes, who drifts into the area. He's still going, Harvey Barnes. He goes down, ball goes out, corner. Great tackle from James Hill. Had to get that one right, and he did just that.
It's a great tackle, George, as you say, and looked as if the referee looked like he wanted to sort of almost give a penalty there. I think he's booking Diakite for the late tackle, but in the build-up obviously to that chance. But yeah, Harvey Barnes is really direct. He sort of drives into the box and almost looked like James Hill was the wrong side of him, but yeah, gets a toe on the ball, kicks it out for a corner. But game's starting to heat up. Obviously just 15 minutes left.
Corner on the far side will be taken by Elanga. They're just holding play because Livramento and Chow come over for a drink and instructions from Jason Tyndall, and they're now making their way into the box for Chow and the edge of the box for Livramento, who's unmarked on the edge of the area along with Tonali. Still we wait for the corner. Everyone else near enough inside the 6-yard area, congested in there, not a lot of room. Alanga puts it right under the, well, trying to get it under the crossbar. It didn't beat the man at the front post, which was Evan Nilsson, and he heads clear, the Brazilian. Out of play on the far side, throw into Newcastle. Alanga will take. And then go back to Tonali. Tonali with a diagonal from left to right, hanging it in the air for Dan Burn, who chests it down under pressure from Truffert. Goes back to Livramento. Dan Burn playing right wing at the moment. Marcus Tavernier, the Bournemouth captain, with another good foot in there. And out of play, throw in to Newcastle. Another change coming up for the Cherries. Amin Adli is coming on. They've still got another window to make another change if they want to, because James Hill came on at half time. Marcus Tavernier off, so another short stint as captain. He hands the captain's armband to Ryan Christie now. Might be a first for him as well. I'm not sure if he's captained the Cherries before. So Tavernier off and Amin Adli on down the left wing for the Cherries. Or will he go to the right and Semenyo come to the left? Let's wait and see what happens. Versatility amongst the Bournemouth front line, that is for sure. We've discussed that a lot already this season. No team, I think, has used more players in the Premier League this season than Bournemouth. But to the same extent, no team has made less changes, I think, other than one side who escape me at the moment, than Bournemouth to their starting 11s coming into this match day. And Truffert clears at the back for the Cherries. Only Wolves have used more players in the Premier League than Bournemouth this season, and only Nottingham Forest have made fewer changes to their starting 11 than Andoni Iraola. Throw into Newcastle down this near right hand side. Livramento will take. Infield to Tonali. Tonali then goes towards the top of the box and tries to find Voltemada, but it bounces out to Livramento. His cross in is charged down by Truffert. And Joe Partington, would you say Newcastle have had the best of the second half so far?
Yeah, just. I don't think it's like if we're here at the game, you wouldn't say it's obvious, but on the balance of play, yeah, they've been in slightly more control or look the team that looks slightly more destined to score, but it's still, the balance is so finely. It's so fine, it could really go either way.
15 minutes to go. Throw in from Livramento from the right into the box, looking for Burn, and Voltemada comes off of the German's head, and he says that's a corner, referee and linesman, assistant referee, and he says no, it's a goal kick, it came off of your head. Petrovic placed it down in the middle of his 6-yard area, and he's got Senesi to his left for the short one, and Diakite, and immediately Anthony Alanga is on Senesi as he receives that short pass, but Bournemouth deal with it well, and then they can't find the out ball. It's one back by Chow, and then Livramento goes back to Botman under pressure quickly from Evan Nilsson. Evan Nilsson does win it away from Chow, and then wants a handball and gets a handball. Free kick to Bournemouth on halfway, and Chow's going to get a yellow card for that handball.
Yeah, he got stuck on the ball, and actually if Bournemouth managed to stay in possession, they probably had an opportunity to break on Newcastle then, so that's the reason why the referees booked him, sort of disrupting the flow of the play. But yeah, again, there seems to be a lot of transition in this game. No team at any point really has managed just to stay in complete control, but it still feels that way. It still feels like it could go either way. I know I said that a couple of times obviously in the last 10 minutes or so, but it really does. There's no team who looks like they're in major control on this game, and still really haven't had a proper opportunity to score.
Bournemouth just edging the possession stats, 54% to Newcastle's 46. Remember, Wilson Isidore has just equalised for Sunderland at the Stadium of Lights. Sunderland 1, Aston Villa 1 elsewhere in the Premier League. Senesi sends it out to the left-hand side, and Truffert down the wing. Cuts the ball infield and square to Ryan Christie, but too many green shirts around Christie and he can't hold on to it. And now Bournemouth are working hard to win it back on the halfway line, and Christie does, and Amin Adli steps in, and here's Adli now driving forward inside left. He's got Kluivert and Truffert to his left. He finds Kluivert 18 yards out. Christie's there too. Christie's cross into the box is cut off by Botman and cleared up towards halfway, brought under control by Tyler Adams. Bournemouth reset and look to go again. Diakite now just inside the centre circle. Out to the right and James Hill, bit of space for Hill at right back. Early cross in, dangerous one over the head of Evan-Nilsson. Adley arriving at the back post, comes off of Livramento and behind. Corner to Bournemouth. Justin Kluivert's going to come across to take it. We'll head to St Mary's in a moment, get you an update in the Southampton women game against Bristol City. And see what develops here for the Cherries first of all.
Really good cross in the box actually from James Hill there, from sort of like a really wide area, but fans seem to be a little bit more engaged in the game. Just over 10 minutes left.
Justin Kluivert will take the corner away to our left. He's got his left arm up in the air as the signal to his teammates. Curls one towards the front post. Anthony Elanga heads away. Christie's unmarked on the edge of the box and brings it under control beautifully out of the sky. Then sends it down the left flank to Kluivert. Back to Christie. Christie curls one into the box. Looking for Diakite. Cleared by Newcastle. Kluivert picks it up on the edge of the area. Elanga was bundled over by Christie. Free kick says the referee. Let's head to St Mary's. WSL 2. Southampton women against Bristol City. Tom Murray.
Jordan, I'm not sure how we're still goalless. It's a brilliant chance for Bristol City. Maureen Defer was played into the penalty area and all she had to do was square it to Rio Hardy. She did, 6 yards out, goal at her mercy. Somehow Fran Stenson has kept the shot out at close range. Still goalless here, 15 to go.
The point for the Cherries here at the Vitality Stadium is going to lift them to third in the table as things stand. If it stays the same, but you still feel anything could happen in this game at 0-0. And Ryan Christie's driving forward. He threads it through the left of Chow, who's been booked and hits the deck. Free kick to the Cherries. Surely that's a second yellow card, Joe Partington.
Oh, I'm waiting for the referee to reach into his pocket, but it doesn't seem like he's going to. I think he's pointing as if there is recovering defenders, but
that would rule out a red card, right?
Christie takes his touch past Tior and he brings him down. If Christie gets onto that ball, he's driving into the penalty box up against the goalkeeper. We're going to watch it back now.
The covering defenders rule out a straight red card, but he's already been booked. That's surely a yellow card. Body check Christie, wiped him out. He knew as well. He turns immediately. You know you're in trouble with the defender when you're putting your arms out saying didn't do anything. Referee.
I mean, it generally was difficult for him to get out of the way, but because Christie plays the ball through his legs, tries to run the other side, he's now impeding Christie, who's obviously looking to try and attack the goal. But I think he's a lucky boy, really lucky boy actually, Tiar there. I think there's another referee in the Premier League that probably would have sent him off at that point. It would have made the game slightly more interesting for the last 10 minutes, but still, even this as a position on the pitch to take a free kick from, I think if you're either Ryan Christie or Justin Kluivert and you could ask where do you want to put the ball, they'd probably put it in and around here.
Just left of centre, 22 yards out. Christie the left-footed option, Kluivert the right-footed option. Whistle goes from the referee. Here we go. It's going to be Christie. Dinks it over the top. Oh, no one carried their run on. Senesi, I think it was meant to be. Christie executed it to perfection, I think. The man on the end of it for the Sean Cooper special just wasn't there. And it was straight into the arms of Nick Pope. Can you believe it?
Well, I mean, when something like that doesn't come off, I feel like it's such a wasted opportunity to score. But obviously, like in the box of Sean Cooper's absolute magic, like there would have been some sort of idea as to how to create an opportunity. But yeah, maybe a couple of players not on the same page in that moment.
You can imagine, by the way, Andoni Iraola's reaction, first of all, to the lack of a second yellow for Chow, and then the way the free kick ended. He was pacing up and down, shaking his head. He's back in the ear of the fourth official again now. Long throw at the other end from Livramento into the Bournemouth box. Cherry's head clear. And Lewis Hall lifts one back towards the edge of the box. Botman heads down, but there's a nudge on Christie again, who hits the deck and wins a free kick on the edge of his own area.
Tiao's actually signalled to the bench that he wants to come off, so not only is he
I'm not surprised.
Not only has he got away with not being booked again, he's sort of just stated to the bench, Newcastle's bench, that he's feeling some sort of discomfort and they're about to change him.
Is he feeling some sort of discomfort? Or does he not fancy another
it might be
8
mental.
minutes against Evan-Nilsson, Kluivert,
who knows?
Christie and the rest? Here is Christie, found some room between the midfield and the defence, and he's driving towards the edge of the box. Square ball to Kluivert. Kluivert brings it under control, surrounded by green shirts. Can't thread it through to Evan-Nilsson. Evan-Nilsson applauds him for the idea, just couldn't quite execute it. 7.5 minutes to go at the Vitality Stadium. Bournemouth 0, Newcastle 0. BBC Radio Solent and BBC Sounds across the UK. Don't go anywhere. This is hotting back up again, this game, inside the final 10 minutes. Oh, heavy touch from James Hill out on the right. Had room to move into, couldn't bring it under control. Out of play, throw in to Newcastle. Bournemouth unbeaten, remember, in their last 6 Premier League games, but they have just one home win in 7 against Newcastle in the Premier League, which may suggest this one might finish all square. Right, Chow's coming off. Jamal Lascelles is going to come on at centre-back. You may feel, and you'll watch it back, I'm sure, on Match of the Day later, that Malik Chow is a lucky boy to be able to be substituted. And there's a change up top as well. Osula's coming on, and Nick Voldemada is coming off. He's been kept pretty quiet all game by Bafode Diakite and Marcos Senesi. Joe Partington.
As has Evan Nilsson, I think, on the opposite side. It's been a game full of good play and aggression and intent, but I think both defences have actually come out on top so far, hence the reason why the game is 0-0. I think it's an obvious thing to say, but yeah, both Newcastle and Bournemouth's defence have been really good today. And
Kluivert, ball over the top, looking for Evan Nilsson, and Lascelles immediately called into action to nip that ball away from Evan Nilsson, and then Botman will clear into the Bournemouth half. Diakite wins the header in front of Osula. Out of play, throw in to the visitors. Taken back towards their own 18-yard area, and Botman. Square ball to Lascelles, and they go back to Pope, the goalkeeper, all in blue, launches it into the Bournemouth half again. Osula in a physical battle with Diakite and gets to the right side of Diakite to hold him up, and then lay it out to the left for Newcastle, the far side. Harvey Barnes works it down the line to Hall on the underlap. Hall brings it under control. Alanga's over on that left-hand side at the moment as well. It's congested for Newcastle, but they do well, and then Tyler Adams' clearance bounces off of Alanga, back into Adams, throw into Newcastle. About 16 yards out from the Bournemouth goal line, and a chance to try and cause some chaos in the Bournemouth 18-yard area. And they send the big guns forward again, all the height, and Botman and Byrne, and Osula, who's not short either, having just come on up front for Newcastle. Lewis Hall launches one into the Bournemouth box. Senesi wins the header down into the ground, and then the second ball is dealt with by Kluivert out to the left, and Adley sprinting to keep it in, and he does, halfway inside Bournemouth half. Square ball infield to Ryan Christie. Calls of man on from the home crowd as Osula chases him down, and Christie read the play well, saw the man coming, and Bournemouth will reset and send it into a bit of room over on the far right hand side. Diakite has it just outside the centre circle now. Square ball infield to Senesi. Senesi with a diagonal looking for Semenyo, who's not seen a great deal of the ball in the second half, other than that one moment where he drove forward to the edge of the box, and there was a really important tackle from Tino Livramento as Semenyo was about to shoot on the edge of the area. That perhaps Bournemouth's best moment of this second half. Long ball forward from the back. Diakite deals with it again up against Osula. Danger not gone for Bournemouth as Harvey Barnes drives forward, and that was a wild clearance from Senesi. It's sliced off the outside of his left boot. For all the cultured and beautiful diagonal balls that Senesi plays, there are some absolute smash clearances that he tries to put out there as well. That's the second time this afternoon. Here is Senesi again. Truth there. Square ball back infield to Senesi. Senesi infield to Bafode Diakite. Senesi forward to Christie on the half turn, does well and finds Adley in space down the left, 20 yards out. Early ball in towards the front post, looking for Evan Nilsson. Botman had to deal with it, and he did deal with it really well. Out of play, throw into the Cherries down the left. Don't forget, we've got live cricket commentary ongoing for you on the BBC Sport app and website. Hampshire women against Lancashire women in the One Day Cup final. Lancashire chasing 289 for victory. They are 124 for 1, halfway through their 50 overs. Need another 165 runs to win. Here is Diakite. Square ball to Senesi. Senesi will just stop and pause and wait for something to open up, which it doesn't, so he goes back infield to Diakite. Here's Senesi. Forward from the halfway line through the middle to Christie, works it out to the left in truth there, 18 yards out, cuts infield and gets hacked down by Livramento. Free kick to the Cherries. Livramento not happy with that decision from referee Rob Jones. Really smart play from Trufair, Joe.
Yeah, I think he's actually lucky to get the free kick there. It did look like Livramento didn't do too much wrong actually, but it's a really dangerous position on the pitch, and some nice patience shown actually by Bournemouth there. I know it's the 88th minute and will be desperate to score, but sort of kept ticking the ball over, obviously trying to find the right moment to play a forward pass that Senesi has done so many times in this game so far. And yeah, now Bournemouth are in a really, really good position on the pitch to, as you've said, George, so many times already, but up against the height of Newcastle, it's going to have to be a really, really good ball into the box to get something.
0-0. Just over a minute of normal time left. 1-1 here last season. Ouattara's late winner wrongly disallowed by VAR. Can Bournemouth find themselves another dramatic moment against Newcastle at the Vitality? Cliver with the cross, headed up into the air by Newcastle and away. James Hill wins the second header, back into the box. Christie on the volley from the edge of the area, blocked. Appeals for handball given by the referee.
He tried to play advantage. The reason why obviously the cries of handball went up and the referee left it for 2 or 3 seconds was because I think he thought that Evan Nilsson might have an opportunity to score, but
that's harsh. Christie has smashed it at Harvey Barnes on the edge of the 18-yard area. His hands are by his side, and the ball smashed into his right arm. If you're Newcastle and this goes in the top corner, you're going to be absolutely fuming, I think.
Yeah, you'd be very frustrated actually if you're Newcastle. But of course, for the Cherries, what an opportunity to put Nick Pope under a bit of pressure, and hopefully what we see after this free kick in somewhat of a more difficult position to take a free kick in terms of getting it up and over a wall that has an average height of about 6'8". I can imagine that if it's Justin Kluivert, he's going to want to go goalkeeper side and try and hit this as hard as he possibly can.
5 minutes stoppage time, we tick into them. Huge moment in this game. Bournemouth 0, Newcastle 0. Free kick to the Cherries right on the D. Adley the left-footed option, Kluivert the right-footed option. 4-man wall with real height from Newcastle, and one player in Tino Livramento lying down on the floor behind it to stop the one that's rolled underneath. Bournemouth have set up a 3-man wall next to the Newcastle wall. It's going to be the right for the Kluivert. It's saved by Pope down low away to his left-hand side. It's behind for a corner. That's great goalkeeping. He wouldn't have seen a great deal of that. Nearly a moment of magic from Kluivert. Corner to the Cherry, still 0-0.
It's a really good save, as you say, George, but I think he's in that position already. He's almost waiting for Justin Kluivert to place the ball in that way. I think Nick Pope really trusted his wall and that Kluivert would have been able to get that over.
Adley to take the corner over on the far side between the north stand and the east stand, so this will be left-footed, it'll swing in, delivered towards the front post, not dealt with, balls bouncing around, appeals for handball. Referee's got his finger to his ear, he's given a corner, another corner to the Cherries. Not sure if he's listening to his assistant referee there or someone back in Stockley Park. Fans in the north stand convinced that was a hand and it should have been a penalty. Bournemouth women heading for the 3 points and continuing their position at the top of the table. 2-0 up now against Cheltenham. Corner to the Cherries, goalless at the Vitality Stadium. We're into 5 minutes of stoppage time. 90 seconds of that stoppage time gone. Bournemouth are the team on the attack at the moment at the end of this game. Adley will deliver again. Can they find a moment? A bit of set piece magic from Sean Cooper's box. Adley left-footed, curling to the front post again. It's not a great corner. Alanga clears at the front post, and Ryan Christie will recycle it on the halfway line, and he will swing it out to the left-hand side. Left foot swinger, although he is left-footed, I think, Ryan Christie, but it's over the head of Marcus Senesi and out of play. Throw in to Newcastle, and that is a shame after a bright spell for Bournemouth that it's come to nothing.
Yeah, and only 3 minutes left, George. It'd be easy for this game to fizzle out now. I can't imagine that Newcastle will be desperate to try and score now. I think a 0-0 draw against a team that's won their last 3 games on the trot is probably a good result for them away from home after, so soon after playing in the Champions League on Thursday. But for Bournemouth, yeah, we've got to obviously keep the pressure on now towards the end of this game, and that's sort of just allowed the game to fizzle out a little bit as James Hill tries to find a pass, and all he actually does is drill the ball out of play for a goal kick. But I can see even Newcastle now taking their time with this goal kick. It's 93 minutes. We've obviously got 5 on the board. I don't think Nick Pope's going to want to get this ball back in play too quickly.
So Bournemouth moving on to 10 points as it stands, up to 3rd in the Premier League live table. Arsenal to play later at home to Man City, are below them in 4th on 9 points. and would extend an unbeaten run to 4 games. We've got a minute and a half to play. 3 kick to the Cherries just outside the centre circle. You know Andoni Iraola's going to be pushing for the winner. Senesi says, let's just calm down a minute, let's have a think about this, let's wait, and we'll take the free kick short to Christie to his left on the halfway line. Here's Trufair down the left, square ball infield to Evan Nilsson on the edge of the area. Not a great first touch from Evan Nilsson as he tried to find a first time pass behind him, but Christie's won it back, given away by Newcastle. Can he find a pass? Ryan Christie, edge of the box, turns straight into Tonali, didn't get a shout, and now Newcastle are back in possession and trying to break down the left, and Bournemouth are going to have to concentrate. Into the final minute of stoppage time we tick. BBC Radio Solent and the BBC Sounds app. Bournemouth 0, Newcastle 0. They're trying to send Kluivert away down the right. Too much on it from Senesi. Out of play. Throw into Newcastle. Newcastle heading for a 3rd consecutive 0-0 draw away from home at the start of this Premier League season. We mentioned it in the first half. They'd be the first team to do that since Leicester in the 1970s. It's a rarity, that is for sure. Lewis Hall, long throwing down the left. Tyler Adams gets up and heads away. Bournemouth, remember, with a goal disallowed in the first half through David Brooks for offside. The Cherries will field it. Malik Chow should have been sent off late on in this game for a 2nd yellow card on the edge of the box. Was only given as a free kick and no caution by the referee. Throw into Newcastle at the moment. Over by the corner flag, deep inside their own half, and Dan Burns just going to tick the clock down. Even turned then to look up at the big screen to see what the time was on it. Long throwing down the line. There's the full-time whistle. Bournemouth 0, Newcastle 0. The Cherries go 4 games unbeaten and lift themselves, maybe only temporarily, but after 5 games of a Premier League season, up to 3rd in the table. It's very early days, but it still looks very good from a Bournemouth perspective. Goal disallowed in the first half, David Brooks offside, some chances in the second, but in the end, 2 teams who like to play the same way, cancelling each other out. Joe Partington.
It really was a cancel out sort of game, George, to be honest. That's the best way to describe it. 2 really good teams in the Premier League going at it without really ever getting the best of one another. I think they both had moments where they probably could have created something, but on the balance of play, I think it was very, very even, and both defences coming out the better of the strikers on each team. Both goalkeepers relatively coming out of it with nothing really to do. I know Petrovic had a save to make early in that first half, but yeah, even though it was an exciting game with lots to talk about, actually sort of walking away without any memorable moments in any way really. No sort of opportunities where you think actually Bournemouth should have done better or could have scored, and the same for Newcastle. So as you see, I think probably both teams will be okay with a point off the back of the game, but yeah, I mean, for Bournemouth, as you say, it's great start to the season. If you take that in the first 5 games before the season starts, everybody have been really happy, so to try and take those positives and just move on to the next game.
Bournemouth's unbeaten run against Newcastle extends to 7 games. Their former manager Eddie Howe still can't get the better of the Cherries. More from Joe Partington to come. We're on the air through until 5 o'clock this evening. I'll head down and speak to Andoni Iraola and hopefully a player too. And we'd love to hear from you on Solent Sport. Remember, you can listen right across the BBC Radio Solent frequencies, BBC Sounds and your smart speakers to this final reaction hour of the show. And at Solent Sport is where you can get involved to have your say on your side, on your radio station. 08000 321 333 is the WhatsApp number. You just need to start your message with the word Solent. 81333 on the text. Start those with the word Solent too. Don't forget they'll be charged at your standard network rate. Jono Holmes would love to hear from you. Full time at the Vitality Stadium as the players head back down the tunnel. Bournemouth now 4 games unbeaten as the Cherries 0, Newcastle 0.
This is BBC Radio Solent Sport.
Coming up to 4 o'clock on the home of live sport across the south of Sunday afternoon. An entertaining 0-0 here in the Premier League at Vitality Stadium between the Cherries and Newcastle. It moves Bournemouth up to 3rd in the table 10 points from the opening 5 games. Keep your thoughts coming in on the text, on WhatsApp and on X as well. We're on the air until 5 o'clock. Plenty of time to get your views on the air. Are you happy with a point at home against Newcastle here? Would you have liked maybe a couple more? And what do you think of Bournemouth's start to the season? Keeping that unbeaten run going. It's stretching it to 4 games now. 08000 321 333. Solent at the start. Text 81333 again. Solent at the start of your message, please. And X is at Solent Sport. Women's football, WSL 2. Tom Murray is at St Mary's and has been watching Southampton versus Bristol City. How's it going, Tom?
Well, we're in the 5th minute of an additional 10 here at St Mary's, where it is Southampton 0, Bristol City 1. It was Lexi Lloyd-Smith on the 87th minute mark who swept home from the edge of the box, but that came moments after Ruby Ray Tucker had to come off the field with what looked like a nasty shoulder injury. That has caused a considerable stoppage, and Southampton had used all of their substitutes, so are currently battling with 10 players for these remaining few minutes. They're trying to get themselves an equaliser. They have had the chances to be ahead themselves, but at the moment Bristol City look like they're going to be coming away with the 3 points.
At Fratton Park, Portsmouth women have been taking on Sheffield United and Jana Gaggill.
We are 4 minutes into 8 minutes of time added on here at Fratton Park in front of a crowd of just over 1,100 people, and Pompey are really scrapping to hold on to their 1-0 lead. Both sides have had a great chance here in the second half. Goal scorer Megan Hornby skipping down the left-hand side to set up Ava Rowbotham, whose shot sailed over the crossbar. And for Sheffield United, substitute Lauren Thomas was through on goal with pretty much her first touch, her shot going just wide of the post. So just 1 goal separating the two sides in what would be and could be Portsmouth's first league win of the season. It's Portsmouth 1, Sheffield United 0.
Dying embers of both of those games in WSL 2 this afternoon. We'll let you know when the full-time whistles go. In Premier Division South Women's National League, AFC Bournemouth 2-0 up on Cheltenham in the closing stages there as well. Looking like they're going to continue their brilliant start to the season are the Cherries. In cricket, Hampshire's women are in one-day cup final action right now at Utilita Bowl against Lancashire. Earlier on, Hampshire posting 288 for 6, and at the moment in response, Lancashire women 151 for 1, so they need 138 runs to win from 21 overs. Live commentary of that is on the BBC Sport website and app right now. Coming up between now and 5 o'clock on Solent Sport, we're going to get the thoughts of our Cherry summariser Joe Partington to what he's seen here at Vitality, the stadium this afternoon. I'll update you on some of the other scores and sports news as well, all on the home of live sport across the south.
BBC Radio Solent Sport.
Yes, just emptying now Vitality Stadium here after a goalless draw between Bournemouth and Newcastle in the Premier League. Both sides cancelling each other out. Not many chances to speak of either, but we'll get the thoughts of Joe Partington in a second, who's been watching this, I'd say, entertaining 0-0 draw this afternoon. Thanks very much. Neil of Swanage says, end-to-end stuff. Did we do enough to get the points today? Not sure. Newcastle should have had a player sent off. Brilliant start to the season. 10 points with Liverpool away. Done really well. Not what is not to love at the moment, says Neil of Swanage. Why was Chow not shown a red card? Same old big club influence from the referee, says Gordon. We just cannot finish. It's costly. Defence played really well, though. So keep your thoughts coming in on the text on WhatsApp and on X as well. Let's just have a look at some of the other scores up and down the country. Of course, in the Premier League at 4:30, Arsenal will be taking on Manchester City. The other 2 o'clock game today in the Premier League, by the way, is finished 1-1 between Sunderland and Aston Villa. In the Championship, it's half-time between Bristol City and Oxford. Oxford 2-0 up there at half-time at Ashton Gate. We'll keep you up to date with that. As we've been saying, Women's Super League 2, Southampton 1-0 down in the closing stages at home to Bristol City at St Mary's. Portsmouth 1-0 up on Sheffield United in the closing stages as well. Those games still ongoing, not quite finished yet, but be a huge win for Pompey to get them off the mark, get the first points on the board this season. Women's National League Premier Division South, Bournemouth have